595 calling for an inquiry in aid of legislation on the alleged human trafficking and cyber fraud operations in Clark, authored by Senator Grace Poe, and Senate Resolution number 611 calling for an investigation on human trafficking inside the Clark Freeport Zone by Senator Sherwin Gatchalian. Pagpapatuloy din po ito ng nasimulang mga hearing na bunsod ng aking privilege speech tungkol sa nailikas na ating mga kababayan mula sa scam hubs sa Myanmar at Cambodia. Kahapon po, bilang paghahanda sa ating hearing, ako po'y bumisita sa Clarkson Valley, ang site ng ni-raid ng ating magigiting na kapulisan noong May 5, 2023 para siyasatin at tignan ang itsura ng mga scam hubs na ito. I think this is the first time that the public will be able to see the inner workings of a scam hub. At sa totoo lang po, kahit ilang buwan ko na ito sinisiyasat, nagimbal pa din ako sa aking nakita.
Umaga po. Hello, maganda umaga po. Hi, ma'am. Umaga po. Umaga po.
Sa unang tingin, mukhang mga call center lang ang mga opisinang ito. However, a closer scrutiny will reveal the nefarious schemes that are perpetrated here. Sa mga desk na pinapakita sa videos na ito, nagtatrabaho ang mga traffic nationals mula sa Vietnam, China, Indonesia, Thailand, Taiwan, Hong Kong, Bhutan, Morocco, Nepal, at iba pa. At ang ginagawa nila araw-araw ay magpaibig ng mga foreigner, kadalasan mga lalaki. At matapos nito, ay pilitin silang mag-invest sa cryptocurrency. Panoorin po natin ito.
No, what's that?
This is like there is water bottle. If water bottle given by company, and this is for phone, for a work phone, and this is for keyboard. So if we put our keyboard outside this box, we get deduct salary also.
Why?
Yeah, because they already give like, so they make us like a military, military something like that. So everything must discipline or something like that. So this
What's that gong? It's in Vietnamese.
yeah.
What's written on it?
So this is for the person who make a customer deposit or something like. So we hit the drum like
Wow.
to knowledge them like, to what acknowledge them
Yeah.
that we make sale something like that.
Wow. It's like opening the stock exchange. Wow. So when somebody hits the gong, how much money does that represent that he or she was able to get?
Different every time. So it's around range $100 to $1,000.
Okay. Magugulat kayo sa susunod kong ipapakita. Kung humingi ng video call ang mga target nila, mayroon po sila ng mga models. At tatawagan nila ang target mula sa mga video room. Papakita ko po sa inyo ang mga video room na ito.
So what's in your script? What do you have to say or talk
Just
about?
have to say hello at the first video call,
Yeah.
just to say hello. So this is like the office.
Very nice.
And
May
actually,
storya
it's
talaga
depend
eh.
of the profile that the marketer
Exactly.
creates for you.
Exactly.
If they told them I'm in my room, that would be the video room when the place looks like a
Oh, so
room.
this is a room.
Yes.
Ah, no wonder there are all those like wallpaper to really make it look like a bedroom.
Yeah. And actually, they find fake pictures that looks exactly like you.
Wow.
Yeah.
Ngayon, pag sila ay hindi makahanap ng customer o mayroon silang infractions, sila po ay maaring dalhin sa dark room kung saan sila ay ikukulong ng 3 araw na isang cup noodles lang ang pagkain buong araw at walang kama o upuan. Pag gusto daw mag-resign, ikukulong muna sa dark room na ito para mawala sa ulirat at magbago ang isip. Ang tawag nga daw ng boss nila sa silid na ito ay meditation room. Dahil dito daw sila mag-isip-isip. Yun nga lang nakatakip ang bintana, walang kama o upuan at hindi sapat ang pagkain. Panoorin po natin ito.
So this is the dark room. So who are put in here?
Oh,
You.
yes.
So what did you experience here?
So we just sleep, yeah, only sleep, eat, they give 1 cup of noodle every day
Wow.
and small water of bottle per day. But there is no light, so from the in front they like use a blackboard something like that, so there is no light.
It's
But
like
there is one
torture,
ceiling.
light deprivation.
Yes, there is no
No
bed.
bed. You just sleep on the floor.
Yes.
Wow, all alone, just you. So it must have been hot in the daytime and cold at night.
Yes.
What month was this that you were put in the dark room?
Last year, around August or September, forget
It's
the.
Burr months, September, getting cold already.
Who want to live here
Right.
like 3 days we don't take shower, we
Right.
don't, even the toilet is so smelly that time.
Yeah.
So
My gosh.
no light, something like that.
Did the shower actually work? Could you really take a
No.
bath? No.
People wanna resign, they force, they put us here so that they call it meditation room.
Meditation.
Yes, so they will say, now you still wanna work or you wanna go back. If we say wanna go back, I think they will still keep us here until we change our mind.
So sabihin niyo po sa akin, isn't this a human rights violation? Kung gaano kapayak ang dark room, wala man lang kama o upuan, ganun naman kagarbo ang opisina ng CEO ng kumpanya. Napasok din po namin ang opisinang ito at gusto kong makita po ninyo ito.
The boss.
Bosses.
Yeah.
And when you say bosses, these are Chinese bosses?
Chinese.
Chinese bosses.
Lahat po ng mga boss na offices may kanya-kanyang vault.
Wow.
So here may
Dalawang vault. Wala na po yung vault dito.
Opo, kasi
Kinuha.
ebidensya na po namin yung vault. So lahat po
Good.
ng na-open na vault,
Okay.
isinala na namin sa Camp.
Okay. So
During the
binuksan na.
opening, yes, ma'am.
Ma-
We have
may
a
laman?
warrant during the implementation of the vault. Meron po yung mga witnesses from
Oh.
AMLAC and
Okay.
barangay officials and CDC while opening the vault.
Okay.
Pero one of the vault in the one of the offices in the third floor, there are 2 vaults. A total of 97 point something million
Pesos.
pesos.
Doon lang sa dalawang vault.
Yes, ma'am.
So may dalawa pa rito.
A total of 42 vaults.
42 volts
Yes,
sa lahat po ng na-raid.
Yes, ma'am. The
Wow.
2 offices. Office 1 and Office 2.
Oh, ano pong estimate nyo sa total cash na nakuha sa lahat ng vaults na may
187
cash?
million.
187 M. So yung kalahati nandito.
Yes, ma'am. The biggest one here, 96,
90.
97 million on the third floor. Yes.
The PNP ACG was able to seize hundreds of millions of pesos in cold cash from vaults in the building. They allowed us access to a video of the opening of the vault. limpak-limpak po na salapi. Nakubra mula sa mga biktima ng love scam sa iba't ibang bahagi ng mundo. Isa po sa mga biktima na ito ay si alias Michael. Pumayag siya na gamitin ang kanyang pangalan. Kaninang umaga lamang, bago ang hearing na ito, ay nakausap siya ng aking staff. Play po natin ang video dahil ito po ay unang pagkakataon na may madidinig tayo mula sa other side of the fence.
Hi, Michael.
Hello. Can you hear and see me again?
Yes. Can I just reconfirm? Can I just get your confirmation that you consent to this recording and to sharing your identity and your video in the Senate hearing on human trafficking to scam hubs?
Yes.
Thank you very much. And just to repeat our earlier conversation, you met a woman who introduced herself as Milia, is that correct? In October of 2022, and you met her on Facebook
Yes.
dating, and you developed a relationship over the course of 2 months. And in December, she asked you to invest in cryptocurrency.
Yes.
And can you just state on the video how much you invested? Just
Initial investment was $990, then up to about 5,000, and then after everything was said and done, they got about 28,000.
28,000. And she she cut off the relationship when?
March 23rd.
March 23rd of 2023, correct?
Yes.
Or March 2023. And you haven't heard from her since?
Yes. So also one thing I've come across when I've done some reading on the subject afterwards is that sometimes they'll have people do some of it, and then they can have some other people do some of the texting and stuff, almost like a group. So I know for a fact I did have video conversations with her in December. After December, I don't know if it was truly her or not.
Have you tried to reach out to her via any other means?
I tried creating another WhatsApp account to see if I can get in touch with her that way, because I know sometimes you can block somebody, but but I saw that with the other account, I still couldn't reach her, so I think that phone was cut off.
Okay. And
Also,
Mhm.
I have been getting secondary scams from it, and I have been able to report in one case one website to a was it a global anti-scam organization as one other
Basco, yeah,
website.
they're wonderful, yeah. Mhm.
And so I was able to get a few Facebook scammers shut down online, but also I'm in communicating with another person. I do believe she's also in the same situation because I have started to have video calls with her. I can send you a picture of her later on if you like that, so you're aware of her.
Okay. That's very helpful, yes. But how did you know that this person, Milia, is Filipina?
I'm not 100% sure, but there's a good chance because I've looked at other pictures of Filipinas, so maybe she's Filipino or maybe she's another ethnicity, but
Does she sound like me?
a little bit.
So do you have a message for her?
Yeah, I would tell her that I do forgive her. I understand that if she really was a victim in this case, that I mean, I don't really hold it against her. I mean, if she did choose to do it willingly, then I would hope that she could own up to it and face justice, but ultimately I think she was not in it of her own free will, especially since one of those videos, not videos, one of those messages that I heard briefly said, I really hurt, I'm going into hiding. And then, but that was before she had another video conversation with me. So it is kind of weird.
Okay.
And I would hope to maybe, if possible, um, develop some sort of friendship just so that we can mutually heal.
Okay, so you still want to develop a friendship with her?
Yes, if possible.
Yeah. Okay. Michael, thank you. This is very helpful, and we'll keep you updated.
So nagpapasalamat din po ang komite kay Michael. Biktima rin siya ng lahat ng ito. At yung binanggit po niyang kasama ng pagbibiktima sa kanya na yung mga halagang 990, 5,000, 28,000, yan po ay dolyares. So muli, salamat kay Michael. Ang iligtas naman po sa raid kamakailan ay 1,368 human trafficking victims, all from different countries in Asia and in some cases, even outside Asia. Ang dami-dami po nating katanungan. Una, paano po nakapasok sa Pilipinas ang ganyang kadaming foreign nationals? Yung mga nakausap ko kahapon sa airport sila dumaan at ang kwento pa ng isa, nagbigay siya ng picture ng itsura niya at damit niya bago siya sumakay sa airplane papunta dito. Nagtutugma sa kwento ng nauna kong Indonesian witness na si alias Ridwan na hiningan din siya ng picture para makilala siya ng mga kinaukulan dito. Hindi ba natin matatapos ang corruption sa ating airports? Secondly, if this is just one scam hub, and this scam hub contains 1,000 foreign nationals, and we know that there are other scam hubs in Clark and in the country, ilan na po kaya ang foreign nationals na nandito working scams? Di ko po maiwasang isipin na sa ganyang karaming foreign nationals, paano po kung masingitan tayo ng kahit isang terorista? Thirdly, I really laud our law enforcement agents for the raid of Clark's Sun Valley. But I also know the high cost to our resources. Alam ko po na ang DOJ iyakat ay nagpapakain araw-araw sa mga rescuees. At alam ko din na in many instances, we bear the cost of repatriation. Paano ito matitigil? Araw-araw pa po ang recruitment. At paano po ang mga scam hubs na patuloy pa din ang recruitment? Patuloy pa din ang operations. Fourthly, as I've also learned from the case of Sun Valley, these scam hubs hide under the licenses of POGOs. This actually validates what was said by our expert resource person, Dr. Alvin Camba, that POGOs provide a legal layer to these hubs, and the operations of these hubs remain beyond regulatory scrutiny. Ang malinaw po sa akin ay kailangan na itong tapusin. Parating po, dear colleagues, si Sen Rafi Tulfo, and tatanungin ko sila kung meron din silang opening statement. In the meantime, may I ask our committee secretary to please acknowledge the resource persons and to administer the oath dun sa mga hindi pa nakapanumpa.
Good morning, everyone. The committee would like to acknowledge the presence of the following resource person. From the Department of Justice, we have ASEC Francis John Tejano. From the Interagency Council Against Trafficking, we have USEC Nicolas Felix T. From the Clark International Airport Task Force Against Trafficking, we have the Provincial Prosecutor Ramoncito Benvenido T. Ocampo. Then together with Deputy City Prosecutor Darwin Cañete, Senior Assistant Provincial Prosecutor Generoso Legaspi, Provincial Prosecutor James Escalona, Assistant Provincial Prosecutor Dindo Beber, Assistant Provincial Prosecutor Marizen Ablola Labang, Mr. Grayson Adrian Cañete. From the National Interagency Task Force Against Trafficking, we have the Provincial Prosecutor Raymond Jonathan Liedo, Then from the Bureau of Investigation, we have Attorney Efren Abantao.
Do you mean
And,
Bureau
from
of Immigration, COMSEC?
we have actually from the Bureau, from the anti, we have. No, NBI. Uh, from the we have from the NBI, Efren Abantao. Then from the Anti-Human Trafficking Division, we have Attorney Catherine Olasco. Then from the Bureau of Immigration, we have Commissioner Norman G. Tansinco, together with Attorney Arvin Santos, Attorney Fortunato Manahan Jr., Attorney Romaine Pascual, Attorney Jose Carlitos Licas, Miss Anne Camille Mina, Jose Dennis Javier. Then for the Department of Foreign Affairs, we have Director Lawrence Dantes, Director Charles Lawrence Ching, and Deputy Undersecretary Arnold Talizayon and Director Ana Marie Santos. From the Office of the Undersecretary for Civilian Security and Consular Affairs, we have Deputy Undersecretary Arnold Talizayon. Same. Then from the Office of Civilian Security, Department of Foreign Affairs, we have Director Ana Marie Santos. Then from the Department of Social Welfare and Development, we have Mr. Jonathan Dirain, then Miss Venus Riboltela. Then from the Department of Migrants Workers, we have ASEC Francis Ron de Guzman. From the Overseas Workers Welfare Administration, we have Director Jocelyn Hapal, then Attorney Janelle Serrano. For the Philippine Coast Guard, we have Captain Habilino Sali. Then from the National Police, Philippine National Police, we have Brigadier General Kirby John Kraft. Then from the for the PNP Aviation Security, we have Police Colonel Christopher Abrahano. Then from the PNP Anti-Cyber Crime Group, we have Police Brigadier General Sidney Hernia, together with Police Colonel Villamor Tuliao, Police Colonel Alejandria Silvio, Police Colonel Nobody de Castro Aglipay, Police Colonel Diodenis Joy Marmol, Police Lieutenant Colonel Anacleto Daliva Jr. For the PNP Women and Children Protection Center, we have Police Colonel Mary Grace Madayag. Then from the Philippine Amusement and Gaming Corporation, we have Robert Luquiao, Retired General Raul Villanueva, Attorney Jessa Maris Fernandez, then Attorney Arnold Ferdinand Salbosa. Then we have from the International Organization for Migration, we're still waiting for their chief of mission, but we have with us Itayi Veriri and Yuko Tomina. Then from the Ninoy Aquino International Airport Terminal Managers, we have Mr. Luterio Toricampo, Terminal 1, Mr. Sin Joselito Sunga, Terminal 2. We have Mr. Lauro Francisco, Terminal 3. We have Mr. Arnel Atis, Terminal 4. From the Manila International Airport Authority, we have Mr. Manuel Gonzalez. Then the Assistant General Manager for Operation, Mr. Rafael S. Regular. Then from the Luzon International Premier Airport Development Corporation, we have Attorney Manuel Joseph Franco. Then from the Clark Development Corporation, we have Attorney Noel Mina Dimeneses. Then from the joining us online, University of Denver, Dr. Alvin Camba. Then we have Elias Jason. Then to represent the DSWD, we have ASEC Elaine Falarconia. May I request our resource person not present during our previous hearings to please stand up, raise your right hand, and repeat after me. Okay. Excuse me. Portia Manalad. Please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, please state your name. Do solemnly swear that I will tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth for this committee. Thank you and welcome.
Thank you, Comsec and dear colleagues. The chair would like to acknowledge the presence of Senator Raffy Tulfo.
Thank
Sen.
you.
Raffy, would you like to make an opening statement?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. First of all, I would like to commend the PNP Anti-Cybercrime Group for a job well done, successful raid on May 4, 2023, which resulted to the rescue of 1,000 foreign nationals that are supposed to be victims of human trafficking. Madam Chair, if you would allow me, I have to go directly to questioning the Bureau of Immigration and the CDC, if it's possible.
Sen. Raffy, before we open the questioning, and I will ask you to do that if you need to, meron lang tayong isang importanteng presentation muna mula sa IACAT. So I think at this juncture, it's important to hear from our law enforcement in order to help us better understand and navigate this issue. So I'd like to call on the DOJ IACAT to make a short presentation on this issue of human trafficking in scam hubs. Perhaps, Yusek, zeroing in on the Clark raid, but then also providing the committee a grasp of the bigger picture. May I further suggest, Yusek, that the focus could be firstly on the scale of this problem, what the IACAT knows so far, what patterns are emerging. And then secondly, the interventions of government and the challenges government faces in providing these interventions. And thirdly, what can be done moving forward. So Yusek, you have the floor.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning, ma'am. Good morning, Senator Tulfo. Thank you for giving DOJ and IACAT an opportunity to present the efforts made by the different member agencies, many of whom are present this morning.
Sen. Raffy, meron lang akong few follow-up questions to you sa after the press release. Then kayo na.
Thank you. So this brief presentation is a situationer on the trafficking persons and key actions taken by IACAT member agencies on this modus of human trafficking that involves scam hubs, not just in the Philippines, but across the region. Our response is divided into two main parts. First is the concern for inbound trafficking, meaning the trafficking of foreign nationals in scam hubs in the Philippines, which was the topic of the most recent Senate hearing. The other part is the strategies on the outbound concern, which was tackled during the first two hearings. This pertains to Filipino nationals being trafficked in scam hubs in the region, the Golden Triangle, particularly Myanmar, Laos, and Cambodia. First, for an overall discussion on scam hubs. Many of the trends, many of the observations of scam hubs have already been discussed in this hearing, as well as a lot of material online. Allow me just to highlight some bullet points on this concern. First is that the establishment is usually registered as a legitimate POGO business or a service provider for POGOs, but it is wholly or partially involved in online cryptocurrency scamming. Second is the workers are hired through online job postings, mostly on Facebook, Telegram, and WhatsApp. Third is that workers are recruited as call center agents, are promised high salary and good working conditions, but it turns out they are forced to engage in criminal activities such as scamming. Fourth is the profile of the trafficking victims of scam hubs differ significantly from traditional victim profiles. They're typically young, from 18 to 35, they're tech savvy, multilingual, and educated. The modus operandi involves confiscation of the passports, and their movements outside are restricted. So these scam hubs, typically they are in complexes that are walled with barbed wires that are subject to security. Next, the victims are work for at least 16 to 18 hours a day without overtime pay. The victims are mostly males, ordered by their handlers to pretend to be attractive women in dating sites to entice their clients to invest in fake cryptocurrency. And finally, there are consequences for not complying with their quotas or wanting to leave, such as salary deductions or even being subjected to the dark room, as showed by the senator earlier. So we noted that for inbound, there are the modus is similar as for outbound. But then the strategy is different. Our approach to address inbound trafficking and outbound trafficking for these scam hubs are different. For the inbound concern, allow us to use the Clark Sun Valley case, the raid in Clark, as an illustration. The Clark raid took place back in May 4. As a result of the raid, more than 1,000 foreign nationals were rescued. Several concerns were highlighted immediately after the operation. First is victim assistance. Victim assistance was mostly shouldered by PNP ACG through funds provided by the Office of the Executive Secretary through the PAOK. But at the same time, we sought assistance from other government agencies, including the Department of Social Welfare and Development. This is data provided by DSWD on the number of victims who were assisted. Note that some Filipinos were rescued as part of the operation, but they were later on not identified as trafficking victims because they were not subject to the same conditions as the foreign nationals. They were not forced to engage in criminal activities. They were actually employed in tasks such as utility and cafeteria, and they were actually allowed to go home. Nevertheless, because they lost their jobs, they were still provided financial assistance by DSWD. Aside from the DSWD, we also tapped the DOH on site, considering the volume of the victims who were there. And DOH was able to provide medical assistance, COVID testing, as well as bring some of the victims who needed immediate attention to hospitals. The other aspect of the operation, of the post-operation, is the repatriation of the foreign nationals that were rescued. 4 agencies are coordinating, or the lead for this aspect. First, there's the PNP ACG who produced the list, produced the list of the foreign nationals, as well as they were able to find the passports of most of the foreign nationals, which is able to facilitate their repatriation. Next is the Bureau of Immigration, who processed the foreign nationals, as well as issued the allowed departure order for the foreign nationals and waived the penalties that are normally imposed on foreign nationals who are working here without visa or overstaying. Next is the DFA, the Department of Foreign Affairs, particularly the Office for Asia Pacific Affairs, who coordinated with the different embassies for any assistance that they can provide to their nationals. And finally, it's PAGCOR, who provided the funds for the repatriation of most of the victims. The following is the data supplied by Bureau of Immigration. Can you go back a little bit? One slide. There. So 1,112 foreign nationals were endorsed for repatriation. PNP ACG was able to find the visas for 936. 176 foreign nationals don't have visas. 176 foreign nationals don't have passports. Some passports were found on the site, but these passports do not correspond to particular victims who were rescued. The total of passports that are not identified to a particular victim is 196. Next slide. This is the figure for the admission status of some of the foreign nationals who were rescued. Most of them actually have visas, whether 9A, 9G visas or visas secured from Clark. Next slide. Okay, so aside from these agencies, we also tap NGOs such as the IOM to assist with the repatriation of some of the foreign nationals. Particularly the embassy, Nepal. Nepal does not have an embassy here, so we relied on IOM to be able to process the Nepalese victims and help with their repatriation. We also tapped the services of one of the NGO partners, NGO members of IACA, the Blas Ople Policy Center, to assist with these other foreign nationals. So right now, repatriation of the foreign nationals is happening. As of today, 150 foreign nationals have been repatriated. We have 140 scheduled for this week. We aim to be able to repatriate all foreign nationals within the next 2 to 3 months. the final aspect of this operation in Clark is the case investigation and prosecution. As a result of the raid, several individuals, 7 foreign nationals who were identified as the traffickers were arrested and were subject to inquest proceedings in the DOJ. They waived the right to Article 125 of the Revised Penal Code to be able to file their counter affidavit. As of today, the case against these 10 foreign nationals has been submitted for resolution. The crimes that they were charged include violation of Anti-Trafficking Persons Act, violation of the Cybercrime Prevention Act, as well as serious illegal detention. Next slide. Okay, so those are the statistics for the number of respondents. One Malaysian, 2 Chinese, two Indonesians, and 7 Chinese. And we were able to convince 19 foreign nationals to act as witnesses. These victim witnesses are currently under custody of the IACA Tip Center and are for endorsement to the Witness Protection Program. Next slide. Finally, this is not the end of case investigation and prosecution. PNP ACG is in coordination with the 2 task forces of IACAT, the Clark Interagency Task Force Against Trafficking and the National Interagency Task Force Against Trafficking for the continuation of on-site investigation and for case build-up against any other respondents. These cases would go through the regular process of preliminary investigation rather than inquest. What are some of the challenges and ways forward for the outbound modus of human trafficking? These include a limited adequate facility to accommodate rescued foreign nationals, especially if they are at this scale. So what we did is just to house them in the facility, in the Clark facility. We have limited manpower and resources for the funding of their daily sustenance, as well as repatriation costs. We have limited expertise to track the flow of finances, particularly in the cryptocurrency that's being used. And finally, if the victims' travel documents, particularly their passports, are not with them or cannot be found, it's a little bit more difficult to verify their identities and cause their repatriation. Fortunately, in this case, a majority of the victims' passports were located by PNP ACG. Considering the difficulties that we may face when it comes to mass rescue operations, some of the ways forward include continuing in small-scale operations, exercising visitation and inspection powers of regulatory bodies such as PAGCOR and local governments over POGO licensees and lessees. Nevertheless, we acknowledge that the value, the strength of a raid of this magnitude when it comes to these efforts. Therefore, we will continue to give priority to raids. But if our resources are stretched, we will have to explore these alternative avenues. Finally, we will continue intelligence gathering and case build-up and investigation for other sites. And we will continue to engage non-IACAT stakeholders, such as Clark, PAGCOR, and the LGUs, who have been active in coordinating with us for this particular operation. And of course, we will engage social media companies because a lot of their recruitment happens on social media, and we need their help to be able to address that aspect of the operation. So for this particular operation, we'd like to thank the agencies, offices, and NGOs who took part in the raid and the activities after. Again, I reiterate the praise given by the senators to PNP ACG, who is the hero in this entire operation under the leadership of General Ernia and the man on the ground, the man on the ground, see Colonel Tuliao. We can't give enough recognition to PNP ACG for this success. And then there's PAOK, DOJ IACAT, the IACAT Task Forces, DSWD, DOH, DFA, the Bureau of Immigration, AMLC, IOM, the Blas Oples Center, CDC, and PAGCOR. So clearly, this is an operation that requires interagency cooperation, and in this instance, we were able to secure the cooperation of a lot of the agencies. Now let's proceed to the other aspect of this modus, which is the outbound concern, which, as we mentioned, was the focus of the first 2 Senate hearings for this topic. For the outbound concern, the different member agents of IACAT have been active to come up with a response, and that response can be divided into 5 main categories. First is border control. Second is repatriation efforts. Third is an information campaign. Fourth is a focus on the backdoor channel. And fifth is regional partnerships. The first three measures we've been very active in the first three measures. The latter two, we've initiated moves for this, but we hope to be able to further strengthen these latter two measures for outbound trafficking. Okay, next slide. Right. For border control, we focus on the stricter implementation of departure formalities, because one thing that we note is that the profile of the victims for this modus of trafficking is very different. A lot of them go abroad as tourists, and they can pass as tourists with legitimate means of income. Therefore, it was imperative that IACAT, through the BI, more strictly implements departure formalities. At the same time, we strengthened the different airport task forces to assist BI in the implementation of the departure formalities. The following is the data secured from the Bureau of Immigration on deferred departure of passengers in the course of implementing the departure formalities. For this year, as of May 15, 2023, the Bureau of Immigration processed more than 2.5 million Filipinos for departure. Out of these 2.5 million, 39,000, a little bit over 39,000 or 1.5% was referred for secondary inspection. This means that more than 98% were able to pass through BI without secondary inspection. Among the 39,000 who were referred for secondary inspection, majority, around 60%, were allowed to depart, and around 40% were deferred. Their departures were deferred. So total Filipinos whose departures were deferred is only 0.54% of the total Filipinos who are allowed to depart. This is the list of the countries in the Asia Pacific where Filipinos departures were deferred. Topping the list is Thailand, because Thailand is a transit country for trafficking to Myanmar, Laos, and Cambodia. And second in the list are Singapore, followed by Malaysia. The causes for deferred departures vary. The most common cause is the incomplete documents. Out of those whose departures are deferred, around 1% are identified as likely trafficking victims, and they're referred to the task forces for investigation. At this point, allow us to just point out that contrary to some observations, that this means that deferred departure procedure is inefficient. It is not. The 1% are those who are identified by BI to be likely trafficking victims. And identifying them as trafficking victims is a difficult task, especially if you have limited time to examine these victims. At the same time, some of the victims are sadly determined to leave the country. Nevertheless, those whose departures are deferred for missing documents or incomplete documents, they are vulnerable to trafficking had they been allowed to depart. Aside from that, the task forces are coordinating with BI to provide intelligence on Filipinos who are likely to be trafficked victims. What we do is that we provide advanced information to the BI officers on particular individuals, and the BI officers would zero in on them to verify if they are indeed likely trafficking victims. This is the figure as of May 15 of Filipinos who were intercepted as a result of tips from intelligence reports. These efforts by Bureau of Immigration, as well as other member agencies of IACAT to strictly monitor departures, have resulted in some cases against the principal traffickers. Sadly, one of the challenges is that most of the victims who are intercepted, and even those who are repatriated, don't want to file cases, and we can't force them to file cases. But we are fortunate that we are able to convince some to do so. Aside from that, we were able to BI was able to point out one of their employees who is likely complicit in the trafficking of Filipinos. This is the case of the immigration officer from Clark Airport. This officer is already facing criminal charges before the DOJ and administrative charges likewise before the DOJ. At the same time, BI already identified another employee in NAIA who may likewise be implicated in trafficking. And we have initiated criminal and administrative investigations on this immigration officer. Uh, Next slide. Yeah, next slide. We note that there were concerns on the strict implementation of departure formalities. That's why IACAT, particularly the lead agencies for this, BI, DMW, DOJ, and DFA, are in the process of revising the departure formalities. Just yesterday, we had a public consultation on the latest draft of the departure formalities, and we will just implement some of the suggestions, and we'll present this for approval in the regular council meeting of the IACAT on June 6, next week. Aside from the BI's efforts to strictly implement departure formalities, we have parallel efforts abroad to repatriate the different Filipinos who find themselves trafficked there. These repatriation efforts are led by the DFA and the DMW. Next slide. Next slide. This is the latest data supplied by the DFA on its repatriation efforts. As of May 15, 175 possible tip victims of Filipinos have been repatriated from abroad. Next slide. Okay, these are the countries from where the Filipinos have been repatriated. Most of them are from Myanmar, next Cambodia. DMW likewise provided data on the repatriation efforts, which data is consistent with the data supplied by the DFA. May we go through the data? Thank you. Okay, next slide. Okay, next slide. Okay. So aside from the repatriation and the strict implementation of departure formalities, the different IACAT member agencies have engaged in an information campaign to inform our nationals of the dangers of being trafficked abroad and to warn them against these cryptocurrency scam. In particular, we like to laud the Bureau of Immigration, which has been very active in their information campaign. If you would look at the news, no, parang in a week, maybe may mga three or five press releases on BI on their interceptions in the airport, as well as reminders to the public to be wary of these types of recruitment. Now that we've strengthened our task forces in the airport, we recognize that if victims are not able to go out through the airports, they seek the backdoor channel in Mindanao, in Zamboanga, in Tawi-Tawi. We are in the process of getting together the different stakeholders for the backdoor channels to come up with an overall strategy to strengthen our backdoors. But there have been several developments that would contribute to this endeavor. First is the establishment of Zamboanga City as a specialized non-trafficking justice zone through the Justice Sector Coordinating Council. This happened back in February. We also will have a barangay iyakat activity in Zamboanga next month. And finally, as we said, we intend to strengthen seaport-based task forces in closer coordination with the Philippine Coast Guard, who has been likewise very active with IACAT and referring Filipinos who were intercepted in the back door to IACAT. Thank you. Next slide. Okay, this is data supplied by the Philippine Coast Guard on their various rescues for the year. So individuals rescued is 74, and these individuals are usually bound for Tawi-Tawi, and they're detected by the Coast Guard through ticket inspections, roving inspections, and phone calls. Next slide. The Coast Guard observe certain modus operandi for the trafficking or for the transportation of Filipinos through the back doors. This includes that they are advised to use small boats, no? To small boats because these are better able to escape detection by the Coast Guard more. Aside from that, next slide. Some victims, particularly women, disguise themselves by wearing local hijabi or local headdresses. Thank you. Sige, next slide, please. Sige, next slide. Another aspect we need to work on is regional partnerships, because it is acknowledged that this problem of scam hubs is not just a problem in the Philippines, it's a problem in the region. And a lot of international organizations, such as including IOM, who is here today, have acknowledged the scale of the problem. And the best way that we can address the problem is a regional way. So we need to initiate dialogue, coordination with our partners abroad to be able to address this problem better. So IACAT does have an activity every year, the Manila International Dialogue on Human Trafficking. And last year, the Manila International Dialogue focused on regional concerns, and we were able to touch base with counterparts, different counterparts in the region. And this has resulted in ongoing talks with prospective partners in the fight against human trafficking. But nevertheless, a lot of work still has to be done. And we hope that the next few months would find us cementing our relationship with our regional counterparts better. So next. So that's the end of the presentation. Thank you once again to the Senate Committee for giving us this opportunity.
Thank you also, Yusek T, especially for early on identifying as part of the modus that these scam hubs are registered as legitimate POGO businesses. Before the chair asks additional follow-up questions to Yusek T, and before Senator Tulfo asks questions of the Bureau of Immigration, the chair would like to recognize the presence of Senator Francis Tolentino and Senator Sherwin Gatchalian, the author of one of the two resolutions that we're hearing today. Would the colleagues like to make opening statements?
No opening remarks, Ms.
No introductory statement, but just one question, if I may be allowed.
Please, San Francis.
I listened to your presentation, but I missed one thing. Perhaps I was late. Is there any data concerning repatriations made wherein those repatriated willingly or unwillingly return to the previous places where they were apprehended or rescued? Because I was in the Golden Triangle last month, and one of the diplomats there mentioned that some of those who were rescued eventually returned and transformed themselves as the recruiters, or willingly allowed themselves to be part of this elaborate scheme. Do you have any data? Wala akong nakita kanina.
We don't have collated data on those instances.
To confirm that
yes.
statement that I made a while ago, that indeed there were some repatriated, rescued victims. Amounts were spent by the government for the repatriation, hotel expenses, food allowances, etc., plane tickets, and then eventually they returned, and then
Yes.
they were repatriated and rescued again. Nangyari ba yan?
We confirm, Mr. Senator. We have anecdotal data on Filipinos who, unfortunately, after repatriation, find themselves once again being victimized abroad. Just recently, right now we had a team who went to Thailand to facilitate the repatriation of 18 Filipinos. One of those Filipinos is actually her second time to find herself in this situation.
And my last question, Madam Chair, is that you consider these persons as victims or willing victims, dressed up victims?
At this point, sir, our default is really to treat them as victims unless we find any evidence that they are perpetrators or traffickers.
Kaya niloloko na lang ang gobyerno nun, gastos tayo sa hotel, tapos papalipa rin natin pabalik, pahinga rito, alis uli.
Sir, we consider that possibility, and in fact, it's one of the challenges in this modus of trafficking that's been
So
observed
perhaps
by.
in your next presentation, you can have that as part
Yes,
of
sir.
the challenges
Yes, sir.
confronting your interagency committee. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Sen Francis. And thank you, Yusek T, for the affirmation that the Interagency Committee considers these victim survivors as victims. The chair shares that perspective and appreciates it when our government agencies in the executive as well will hold on to that approach to cracking down on and ending trafficking and rehabilitating its victim survivors in all aspects. So some follow-up questions, a few to your presentation before the questions of Sen Rafi to the Bureau of Immigration. So Yusek T, you did confirm that legitimate POGO license holders provide a legal cover or layer for these scam hubs. And you have data. You have data supporting this, right?
We don't have the collated data for
Alright.
which licensed POGOs are suspected of engaging in human trafficking. Maybe we can refer that to PAGCOR.
All right, we'll do that in a bit. And has the IACAT identified scam hub hotspots? Kasi pag tinitingnan po yung mga POGO job ads sa Telegram o sa Facebook, paulit-ulit yung mga locations naman, no? Paranaque, Clark, Cavite, Pasay. Nagja-jibe po ba ito sa data rin ninyo?
Paranaque and Clark po, ma'am.
Especially, so Paranaque and Clark. Then yesterday, in the ocular inspection, it was mentioned that one of the rescuees tried to take their own life. What interventions are being made to provide also psychosocial support and counseling?
Ma'am, we can we refer that question to DSWD?
All right, we'll do that in a bit, ma'am.
Okay.
ASEC, Elaine, if you could address that concern first when we come to DSWD. Just one last follow-up question at this point to the presentation of USECT. You mentioned that some of the rescuees don't even have their travel documents or proper identification documents man lamang. So what is our plan for them?
Our plan for them is, this is where the embassies come into play. We really need to coordinate with the embassies for them to identify if a particular victim is indeed their national. And if that victim is indeed their national, they would be able to provide the necessary travel documents to facilitate repatriation.
All right. Thank you, Yusek. ASEC Elaine, if you could at least that first question first before the chair recognizes Sen. Rafi for the BI. Ano pong psychosocial support at counseling para dun sa nag-self-harm at nagsubok magpatiwatal?
Thank you, Madam Chair. On May 20, when we received the report, the psychologist of Field Office 3, the DSWD Field Office 3 administered mini mental state examination, and the 25-year-old Vietnamese was referred to Department of Health for a comprehensive psychological assessment. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Salamat, ASEC Elaine, and the committee will appreciate if there are any updates about the condition, hopefully the well-being of the patient.
We will submit, Madam Chair.
Salamat po. Sen. Rafi, your questions to the Bureau of Immigration.
Thank you,
have the
Madam
floor.
Chair. My question to the Bureau of Immigration pertains to the 1,000 foreign nationals that were rescued during a raid conducted by the PNP on May 4, 2023, inside the Clark Development Corporation. Commissioner Tansinko, ano po yung visa na gamit itong 1,000 na foreign nationals na rescue sa loob ng CDC upon entering the Philippines?
Good morning, Madam Chair. Good morning,
Yes,
Senators.
Commissioner.
Of the 11 nationalities that were involved in this raid,
No, sir, yung 1,000 po. The 1,000
yes,
foreign nationals.
the 1,000 consists of 11 nationalities.
Oh, okay. 11 nationalities.
So-
All right.
For India and China and Taiwan, they enter the country using what we call the Section 9A visa or the tourist visa issued by the consulates
Okay. Tourist
in
visa.
the country where
So India, Taiwan, and what's the other country, sir?
China.
China. Okay. So they use tourist visa.
The 9A visa, 9A tourist visa issued by the consulates.
Right. So,
Department of
In
Foreign
short,
Affairs.
tourist visa po ang gamit nila.
Yes, sir.
All right. And then the other nationalities.
The other nationalities, Bhutan, Morocco, Indonesia, Malaysia, Myanmar, Nepal, Thailand, and Vietnam, they are entitled to the visa-free entry into the country under Executive Order number 408.
Visa-free entry.
Yes, as tourist.
As tourist again.
As tourist.
All right. So, kung tourist po yung visa na hawak nila, bakit po sila nakapagtrabaho sa loob ng Clark Development Corporation?
In the entry, they are granted a 30-day, the initial authorized stay is 30 days upon entry.
Okay. All right.
So usually their entry, the purpose of their entry is as tourist.
Right.
It's
Okay.
a reverse
So
of-
when they enter the Philippines, the country, upon being interviewed by an immigration official, and they will tell the immigration official interviewing them na andito ako para mag-tour
Yes, sir.
at hindi ako magtatrabaho rito.
Yes, sir, because
Okay.
that's the condition of the
Exactly.
entry. Yes, sir.
All right. So after that, sir, no, after the interview sa immigration and they're given 30 days normally
Yeah.
para magliwaliw, mag-tour sa Pilipinas, what happens next?
Usually, if they stay more than 30 days, they apply for an extension of their stay as tourist
And kanino po sila nag-apply ng extension, sir?
in immigration.
Okay. And most likely, dito po sa 1,000, nag-grant sila ng extension.
There are some, because the arrivals, based on our records, some of them arrive only on March, April of 2023. So they still have valid authorized stay in the country as tourists.
Sige po. And some of them were granted extension visa
Yes, sir.
para makapag-stay longer than 30 days.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, after na sila po mag-grant ng another 30 days extension sa kanilang visa, sila po ay nagtrabaho sa Clark Development Corporation sa loob.
They applied for the conversion of their tourist visa into working visas.
Kanino po sila nag-apply?
Based on our record, sir, some of them applied for a Subic Clark working visa.
Okay.
Applied with the Clark Development Corporation. Some of them applied for the Section 9G visa or the pre-arranged employment visa with the Bureau of Immigration. And some of them are still under tourist visa.
All right. Now, sir, pumasok sila dito as tourists at nag-swear siguro sa mga immigration agents na sila ay magtuturo lamang at hindi sila magtatrabaho. Tama?
Yes, sir.
Now, after 30 days, they asked for an extension and they were given extension, and then later, mag-apply sila under section, what was that, sir? 19?
9G.
9G, para sila ay magtrabaho.
Yes, sir.
Isn't that odd na they came here as tourists and nangako sila na magtutour sila and then babalik after ng tour nila and then, nagbagong isip ko, ako'y magtatrabaho pala rito. Eh, bakit
Sen.
po natin-
Rafi, if I may interject, we actually have a survivor here, a victim survivor, alias Jason. Maybe we can also ask him now, witness po ng iyakat, if he applied for an extension on his
Pero
visa.
yeah, later on, Madam Chair.
All right,
Puso-
but then right after Sen. Rafi, I will ask Jason to address
okay.
this point.
So,
Please proceed.
isn't it odd, Commissioner, that isn't it odd na nanumpa sila pagpasok sa bansa natin na sila ay magtutur lang and then nagbagong isip mag-apply sila as mag-apply sila ng i-convert nila, sorry, yung kanilang visa into working visa 9G. So, di ba dapat doon pa lamang red flag na to at hindi na sila aprobahan, sinungaling ka. Sabi mo magtutur ka lang, ngayon magpapa-extend ka. And then pinagbinga ka namin mag-extend, siguro nakulangan ka pa, hindi mo pala pa silang Boracay, Mampulo, kaya nagpa-extend ka. And now, after all that, gusto mo na pala magtrabaho rito, eh nanluloko ka, hindi ka namin ika-grant. Di ba ganun dapat po?
All under our present laws and regulation, all first-time foreign nationals entering the country, all of them are entering the country under a tourist visa category.
Okay.
And when they are already in the country, they are allowed to convert into other immigration status like working visa.
Is that under, meron ho ba tayong provision sa batas natin na pinapayagan yan or meron ba batas tayo na binabawal yan?
Under Commonwealth Act 613, under the Philippine Immigration Act, that's the existing regulation.
So maybe, Madam Chair, it's time na i-amend natin yan to legislation, pagbawal na natin yan kasi later on I'll explain kung bakit. Now, let's go to CDT.
That, Sen. Rafi, is a possible
Yes.
for inclusion in the committee recommendations.
Kasi
in the committee
mamaya,
report.
sasabihin ko sa inyo, Madam Chair, this is a matter of national security and I'll explain to you why later. Next, sa CDC, Nasaan yung mga taga-CDC rito?
Yes.
Clark Development Corporation?
Senator.
Before we move on to the CDC, maybe now is the time we can ask alias Jason the question related to one of the points being asked by Sen. Rafi earlier. So, Jason, terima kasih for being here and salamat to the IACAT for making the witness available.
I was going to a very important question, Madam Chair, but anyways.
Yes, yes, of course. Right after this one. Jason, you heard the question of Senator Tulfo earlier. So the chair would like to ask you, what was your visa when you came here to the Philippines?
The first I came here as using tourist visa.
So you were using a tourist visa. And eventually, did you apply for an extension on that tourist visa?
Not me directly, but the company offered me some type of visa called 9G visa.
9G visa.
Yeah, 9G visa to allow us to keep working in here.
All right. And at this time, did you have your passport with you?
No,
You did not?
no, I don't have.
All right. Thank you, Jason. We will return to you later in the hearing. Sen. Rafi, please continue.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yun nga po, sinagot na po yung kanina ni Commissioner Tansinko, yung exactly what our witness just said. Thank you, Mr. General, Jason, nakita ko yung pangalan niya.
You're welcome.
All right. CDC,
Yes, Senator.
nasa yung
Nakita
CDC
po.
natin. Hello po.
Good morning po, Senator.
Clark Development Corporation.
Yes
Ma'am,
po.
nung magpa-convert from tourist to working visa, itong mga foreign nationals na na-rescue dyan CDC, bakit nyo po inaprubahan? Bakit nyo po inalaw na mabigyan ng 9G visa na para makapagtrabaho? Tulad sinabi ko kanina sa immigration, sinabi nila sila ay tourists and then later on, mag-apply sila ng working visa at papayagan natin magtrabaho para bang gaguhan, niloko tayo. Sinabi sa immigration, pagpasok sa airport natin na tourist lang kami, hindi kami magtatrabaho. Right?
Yes, Senator.
And they have to prove it. And then later on, yung pala mag-a-apply sila ng trabaho rito at pinayagan nyo. Why did that happen?
Senator, if I may explain po. As mentioned by Commissioner, meron po tayong tinatawag na conversion of admission status. At ito nga po ay nangyayari at allowed under Commonwealth Act according to him.
Commonwealth Act.
Opo. Ngayon po, pag dumating po yan na tourist, pwede po siyang
Gaano matagal na po itong batas na ito when you say Commonwealth Act?
Possibly circa 1930s. Ano po?
1930s. Maybe 1940s, 30s, 50s, something like that, right? Okay.
Yes.
So, using that Commonwealth visa na naabuso ngayon, so pinapayagan natin itong mga tourists na papasok from different countries na later on ay magtatrabaho. Magsisinungaling sa airport, pagpasok sa immigration, sasabihin, tourist lang talaga ako, and then later, magtatrabaho na. At pinapayagan niyo po yung mga sinungaling. You allow these people to lie?
No,
Why
Senator.
would you allow this?
Hindi po, Senator, because per the Subi Clark working visa, meron po tayong mga requirements.
Hindi nga po, no, ma'am. Alam niyo naman, pagpasok nila ng Pilipinas, gamit-gamit nilang tourist visa, at nanumpa sila, nag-swear sila dyan sa immigration na ako'y tourist lamang. Hindi ako magtatrabaho dito. So, and then later on, pupunta sila sa CDC at magpapakonvert ng kanilang visa into working visa. Sabi nyo, covered kasi ng Commonwealth Act yan. Pinapayagan nyo. Pero kung ako, hindi ako papayag. Sasabihin ko, kung ako nasa posisyon ninyo, sabihin ko, teka muna, niloloko mo kami. Pumasok ka rito sa bansa natin, dumaan ka sa immigration, sabi mo, ikaw ay magtuturan dito. Ngayon, pupunta ka sa opisina ko para magtrabaho. Niloloko mo kami. Di ba?
Senator, sa side po ng CDC, when they submit their application, we endorse it to the Bureau of Immigration for the issuance of the visa. Because in our current regulations, based on the Subi Clark working visa policy, given that CDC is an investment promotion agency, we give fiscal and non-fiscal incentives. Isa po doon yung non-fiscal is the foreign nationals of locators may be allowed to work in the
Pero dapat, yeah, I don't see any problem letting foreign nationals work in our country, pero dapat with proper documents. Sana from the point of origin, kumuha na sila ng proper visa, which is working visa. At doon, na-bet na sila na-screen na sila. Hindi yung dito na natin sila screen kasi pagdating dito, alam naman natin, talabak ang korupsyon dito, madali na lang maniobra yung system. In this case, namamaniobra na yung system because of corruption. I see clearly here, there's corruption's been happening for a long, long time dyan sa loob ng CDC. Now, why did I say this could be a national security issue, Madam Chair? Kasi any foreign nationals from any country that has intention to create terroristic acts here in our country, they can always say, I'm going to the Philippines as a tourist, mag-apply sa point of origin, and then pagdating dito, sila po ay magtatrabaho. And who knows, they may be member of the PLA. And then they'll be member of that what we call sleeper cell. Alam niyo po yung sleeper cell?
Sure.
Na matutulog lang po sila dito, mag-work lang sila dito, simple lang, they will blend in as regular foreign nationals with works, and then later on, pag kailangan ng servisyo nila, saka sila sasabog, puputok, saka sila gagawa ng lagim. So anyway, what I'm telling you now, CDC, okay, sige, pinayagan nyo, bigyan nyo trabaho because of that Commonwealth Act, na nakapikit kayo, kahit alam nyo mali na, but you have the discretion to deny, right?
If it's all in accordance with the requirements, sir.
Hindi nga, but you have,
Deny, sir. You can deny po.
exact, but
Yes po.
you have pwede ka mag-deny.
Opo, sir.
Alright. Kung ginagamit niyo po yung kokote niyo, pwede niyo i-deny. Kung ako, gagamitin ko kokote ko, i-deny ko yon. So, para sa akin ito, opinion ko. So, kaya niyo pinayagan kasi hindi niyo ginamit yung kokote niyo. Ganun po yon. Okay. Now, let's move on. Nabigyan niyo po sila ng working visa. Now, nung sila po yung nabigyan ng working visa at nag-work sila doon sa Sun Valley, wala ho ba kayong ginagawang inspection? Kasi alam ko, CDC, meron kayong tinatawag na visitation authority.
Opo.
At any moment, at any time, pwede kayong pumasok doon para mag-inspeksyon.
Yes, Senator.
Ginagawa niyo ba to on a regular basis? At how long na ito nag-ooperate itong Sun Valley kung saan may na-rescue itong PNP natin? Ang mga 1,004 nationals. How long have been
For
they
the
in
Sun
operation?
Valley, for the Sun Valley, Senator, they have been operating since September 29 of 2021.
September 2021.
29. Senator.
September 29?
Opo, of
2021.
2021.
So, several months na. Di ba dapat una gumagawa kayo ng regular visitation para i-check, especially ito ata, nasa-bliss na, no? From one company to another. Ilan ang pinagpasapasa nito?
Yes po, nag-start po yan sa Dongwang Corporation,
Dawang?
which
Okay.
has a valid lease agreement with CDC in the year 2010.
Okay.
And then come 2018, there was a sublease agreement between Dongwang Corporation
Okay.
and Sun Valley Clark Hub.
Okay.
Sun Valley Clark Hub is a PAGCOR licensee holder as a POGO hub,
Okay.
which has a valid PAGCOR accreditation.
Okay.
And then thereafter, Sun Valley Clark Hub subleased it again to CGC Technologies Incorporated.
Okay.
And that was in the year 2019.
Okay.
And in the whole hub of Sun Valley, which has 8 buildings, yung 2 building po doon, sinablease niya po yan ulit kay
Okay.
CGC Technologies.
Is that legal or illegal mag-sublease?
That's allowed po.
That's allowed.
Sen. Rafi and colleagues, CEO, President Agnes De Vanadera of CDC is joining our
Okay.
hearing. So she will also be available to ask our questions
you.
for CDC. Please continue.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So, hindi po illegal yon.
Yes po,
That's
Senator.
fine. Pero di ho ba dapat, nakita niyo po, nagpasapasahan na po ng lease agreement? Di ba parang something is not right here and there's that time na kailangan magbusisi na kayo? Ano bang nangyari dito? At kasama yan sa inyong visitation authority
Sir,
na
yes,
time?
allowed naman po ang mga locators namin if there are provisions in their contract for
Right.
further subleasing. Tama din po kayo, Senator, that we conduct regulatory inspections over our locators.
Did you do that?
Yes po.
This case?
Primarily po, sir, number one, CDC as the LGU po in the Clark Freeport Zone is the entity that issues the business permits. So, isa sa mga ginagawa po namin for regulatory inspections are the fire, the occupancy permit.
Okay.
Ganun po
So,
yun.
ilang beses kayo naggawa ng pagbisita o inspection dito po sa CGC?
Senator Rafi, for purposes of regulatory permits, that's conducted every year.
Every year.
However, we have our own public safety department. Ito po yung security services group namin. And under that group, meron po kaming tinatawag na operations and intelligence, and they are the ones roving sa buong to ensure the safety and security po of the whole Clark Freeport.
Alright, nandun na tayo. Pero yung sa operation, sabi nyo, may nag-inspection. Bakit hindi nyo po nahuli? Ba't kinakailangan pa magsumbong yung Indonesian embassy sa ating PNP at yung PNP pang nakabulaga na outsider na nandyan na po kayo sa loob, kayo na po may-ari ng property, sana man lang namanmanan nyo kung gumawa kayo ng proper pagbibisita, pagmamanman, nahuli nyo po agad. But yung PNP pa, and PNP has to go to a lot of process, mag-file sila ng search warrant from the court, etc. Samantalang kayo nandyan na, hindi nyo na kailangan yun dahil kayo yung nasa loob, kayo yung may power na to visit it and to make sure na sila gumagawa ng tama, which you didn't do.
Senator Rafi, ang katotohanan po, para sa CDC management and the CDC board, there was really a failure of intelligence. And as a consequence of this operation, the board and the management created a special administrative committee just to investigate and hear all of the security officials of PSD, and they are now under preventive suspension, Senator Rafi.
So there is a failure of intelligence at inamin niyo po yan. Thank you, ma'am.
Yes po.
Now, bakit po nagkaroon ng failure of intelligence?
Because wala pong nakarating sa management or sa board na merong, let's say, red flag na po pala ang nangyayari dun sa hub na yun.
Exactly. So ilan pong mga buildings o businesses o locators meron dyan sa loob ng CDC?
Currently, we have around 1,300 locators,
1,000.
Senator Rafi.
1,000 locators.
Locators po.
Yeah, isa lang itong CGC. So
Yes.
itong 999, gaano po kayo ka-sure na this time hindi na kayo magpe-fail sa inyong intelligence?
Sir, because of this, to tell you honestly, we started to collaborate with the other government agencies, all of the groups of CDC to conduct inspection and to check whether or not they are really doing the business activity that they have declared to CDC.
Can you give this committee a record na kayo po ay gumagawa ng pag-check, pagbibisita dito sa 999 and then bigyan niyo po kami ng report kung ano po yung naging kalalabasan ng inyong ginawang pag-inspection kasi baka naman house-show lang po ito na inspection ginagawa niyo.
We will do that, Senator. We will submit po.
So how often do you do the inspection to your locators? Is this once a month, once a year, once a decade?
Hindi po. Normally po once a year yan when they renew their licenses. Pero would depend also kung ano ang mga issues ng locators that we need to inspect their.
Why once a year? Why not every 3 months? Kasi in a year, marami na pong pwede mangyari. Tulad nito, napabayaan, hindi ka nag-inspect after a year, marami na pong na-traffic ng mga foreign nationals. In a year, a lot of things can happen.
President CEO Devanadera is already online, so you
Okay.
might also want to direct some of your questions to her for CDC.
Is Attorney Chairman Devanadera?
President Devanadera,
President.
can we see you? Are you online already?
Good morning.
Good morning,
Good morning.
President.
Yes.
Sen. Rafi is currently asking questions of CDC. We've been hearing from Attorney Meneses. Maybe you'd also like to field the questions from him. Please proceed.
Okay, Madam President, Presidente? Can I call you
Good morning po, Senator.
CEO na lang, CEO.
Good morning.
CEO Devanadera,
Oo nga po.
good morning to you, Madam. I would like to continue my line of questioning doon sa pagtatanong kanina sa isa sa mga tao nyo,
Opo.
Atty. Meneses. Inamin niya po, nagkaroon po ng failure of intelligence, kaya po magkakaroon daw kayong pagdidisiplina doon po sa mga nagkulang dito sa Sun Valley raid ng PNP. Now, sabi niya, meron daw kayong 1,000 locators in
Opo.
CDC, right? So,
Opo.
yung 999 na locators, kayo po ay gagawa ng pag-inspection after this incident. Kasi meron nang nangyari, so of course you're gonna do something to avoid from happening this kind of problem, right? Ang sabi niya, once a year. Ang suggestion ko, bakit once a year? Bakit hindi quarterly? Kasi in a year, marami na pong pwede mangyari, marami na pong pwede ma-traffic, baka meron na yung sleeper cell dyan, baka lumawak na at pwede nang gumawa ng terroristic act, etc. So bakit hindi po natin gawing madalas? Bakit once a year?
Kung ilan. Mr. May I proceed?
Yes, President CEO De Banader, please answer the question.
Okay. Senator Risa, Senator Tulfo, well, the regular...
And
is
Senator
really one-
Tolentino and Gatchalian are also here.
Oh, Senator Gatchalian and Senator Tolentino, good morning. The regular inspection being done by our law enforcement is really once a year because of the limited number of people. However, it doesn't mean that for the rest of the year, they are not on beat patrol. In fact, our standard operating procedure, my standard operating procedure with our enforcers in Clark who are not members of the PNP is really to give me real-time reports. So I get reports even in the evening about robbery, about traffic violation and all that. That means also they are being required to go around.
Okay, ma'am, sorry, makasingit. Ilan pong inspector meron po kayo? How many inspectors do you have?
We have, if I'm not mistaken, we just have about maybe 30 plus, not 30 plus or close to 50, Your Honors.
Okay, let's say 30. So,
Opo.
yung 30 na yan, once a year lang po nag-inspect.
Hindi naman po once a year lang. Kasi as I said, they go around. So the regular on building permit, fire, kasi kasama din po yung fire. And then, and the other complaints, responding also to the complaints, it's not just once a year.
Kasi ma'am, if you'll do the math, so kung 30 sila, sa loob ng 10 araw, 300 na ma-inspect nila. So sa loob ng 1 month, aabuti na sila 900. So 1 month and a half, more than 1,000 na. So kung tutusin, kaya niyo pong gawin to quarterly. That was my point. Bakit po kinakailang patagalin pa, paabutin pa ng 1 taon na kaya naman palang gawin yung quarterly para mapigilan mangyari itong nangyari ngayon dito sa Sun Valley na kung saan PNP pa ang nakabulaga. Malaking kahiyan, malaking sampal po yan sa CDC. Dapat po kayo nakabulaga niyan na meron naman kayong visitation power na anytime you can go in and visit and inspect, which you didn't do. Yung PNP kailangan pang pumunta sa korte para kumuha ng search warrant at magpakita ng mga evidence sa korte ba't kinakailang ma-search yung premises na yon. So, thank you PNP. Job well done sa PNP. Pero sa CDC, medyo malaking kahiyan ata ito, madam. Kasi kung ginawa niyo lang pong trabaho yung CDC, hindi na po sana nangyari itong problema ngayon, hindi sana tayo nag-uusap ngayon.
Mr. Senator, we realize that, Mr. Senator, and that's the reason why we made an immediate action of because our monitoring with our law enforcers in CDC is quite close in the sense that I ask for reports not just quarterly but it's every day. As I said, they give me reports every day, including the nighttime, of things that they have monitored, Your Honors. However, I was just a surprise because there was no report on this. And that's the reason why, as mentioned by Attorney Noelle, we concluded that there's a failure of intelligence And that's the reason why we placed on preventive suspension all officials of the law enforcer group in CDC, Your Honor. So moving forward, we are also doing an investigation. Now, on the other hand, Your Honors, the inspection would only reveal what can be seen physically, Your Honor. And so I don't think even our law enforcers within Clark has that capability and sophistication to monitor highly sophisticated and technical uh, incidents, Your Honor. So, Your Honor, CDC really moved as fast. And we are also thankful that PNP, with their training for cybercrime, was able to detect this, Your Honor.
So maybe,
Sen.
maybe.
Rafi and dear colleagues, just a time check. The chair would really like to try to make a hard stop by 12:30
Okay, one na lang.
in an hour opo, because of a following schedule. So following the question of Sen. Rafi, the chair would also like to ask, and especially allow our other colleagues also to ask, especially Sen. Sherwin, who is the author of one of our resolutions. So Sen. Rafi, yes.
Okay, so therefore, kung may capability ang PNP para malaman yung isang company na gumagawa na pala ng cybercrime, gumagawa ng illegal, then maybe yung mga tao po ninyo mag-train sa PNP.
Opo.
Tama po. So you
Opo.
should have done that long time ago.
Pero nakikipag-ugnayan naman po kami madalas kahit po sa iyakat regarding this, Your Honor.
Okay. So, kailangan po mag-train yung mga tao ninyo para malaman nila kung paano ma-detect yung isang company na gumagawa na pala ng illegal. Is that what you're saying? Right? So, you'll do that now, ma'am?
Yes, Your Honors.
And then, para I'll give way na lang, Madam Chair. Siguro sana gustong tanong yung PAGCOR, kaya lang, wala na palang oras. Sige. I'll yield to my colleagues. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Sen. Rafi, for heeding the time check of the chair. But ubusin po natin yung isang oras. So baka maka-circle back pa rin po tayo sa PAGCOR. Salamat po. One follow-up question to CDC, President CEO De Vanadera. Nung ocular inspection po natin, sinabi nyo that CDC doesn't condone scam hubs or any illegal activities on your premises. Pero kahit yung cursory examination nga po ng mga job ads para sa scam hubs, alam niyo po yung mga scam hubs kasi nakalagay na sa job description na with experience in dating sites and cryptocurrency. So it would show that many of the work sites are in Clark. Ang kasama na po dito nga yung Fontana, yung Clark Majestic. So tulad nung line of questioning ni Sen. Rafi, hindi ba interesado yung CDC na tignan po yung iba pang mga ebidensya that point to these hubs? For example, dito po may ad for Clark Fontana. Ipa-flash lang po natin. So ang requirement po nakalagay dito, knows how to use dating app. Kailangan po ng dating app sa logo?
Madam Senator, as
Yes,
I
please.
mentioned yesterday, and as I candidly replied to that issue, I said that personally, I don't go to those. I wasn't able to monitor because I don't go to those sites, and I'm not exactly somebody who looks into the social media. So personally, I there's no way for me to have that heads up because I've not read that myself, and that's the reason now that thinking that our law enforcers are more conscious about these things, and that this should be the scope of their intelligence gathering. That's the reason why immediately I placed them on preventive suspension because I think they have failed management.
Well, thank you for that, President CEO De Vanadera. But of course, nung sinabi ko pong you, di ko naman ibig sabihin kayo lamang individually. But CDC as a whole, at kayo nga po bilang yung pinaka responsible official there. Anyway, I'll leave that there for now, no? Na parang obviously naman, hindi kailangan marunong gumamit ng dating app para lang magtrabaho sa Pogo. That should already send off some alarm bells in the mind of CDC. So, Sen Sherwin, would you like to pose questions following the investigation of your resolution, and then Sen Francis too?
Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Please.
And thank you very much for hearing PS 611. This is the resolution to investigate the human trafficking incident in Clark. Madam Chair, I just want to get some very basic preliminary information from the different resource persons here, specifically CDC. And I'll direct my question either to Attorney Meneses or to President De Vanadera. Either one can answer. I just want to get the basics. Number one is, who is the lessee of this area?
Senator, we have a presentation, a one-slider. Would you like me to show that for
Madam Chair, with
everyone's
your permission.
appreciation?
Of course, if it's just one slide, please,
Apo,
and so that
just to
Sen
show
Sherwin
the
can continue his
different
question.
corporations.
Please do.
Yes, because there's so many names. There's Sun Valley Hub, there's Sun Valley Hub Corporation, there's Dongwang, there's so many. So we just
There's
need to get
also a
the basic-
CGC Tech,
There's
Sen Sherwin.
CGC Tech, there's Colorful Leaf, all of these names. So we need to get the basics first, so that everyone will be on the same plane.
So for everyone's information, we'll be presenting to you the chain of legal possession insofar as the issued lease agreement, the sublease agreements, and the personalities that were involved in the operations of the PNP-ACG. So Clark being the Freeport Management Authority, the one who manages, administers, and operates and develops the Clark Freeport Zone, leases the whole Clark Freeport Zone. And as the lessor, we have Dongwang Clark Corporation. So that's the first corporation where we have a direct lease agreement with them for a 300-hectare property for a 50-year term. Thereafter, this Dongwang Clark Corporation, as CDC's locator, subleased a portion of it, which is 2.5 hectares, in favor of Sun Valley Clark Hub Corporation. Now, the business activity of Sun Valley Clark Hub Corporation is to put up rent-out office and residential spaces in the Clark. And in fact, Sun Valley Clark Hub Corporation applied with the PAGCOR as a POGO hub, and they were able to get a PAGCOR license for this. Now, for the Sun Valley Clark Hub Corporation, they constructed 8 buildings. And amongst the 8 buildings, yung 2 building, they subleased it again to CGC Technologies Incorporated. And that's around 14,320 square meters for a term of 10 years. Now, you can see there at the bottom, the Colorful and Leap Group Company. This is actually the respondent for the issued search warrants of Regional Trial Court Branch 81 of Bulacan. Sa records po ng CDC, hindi po lumilitaw ang Colorful and Leap Group Company. It shows that either hindi po in-endorse either Sun Valley or CGC Technologies sa CDC ang Colorful and Leap Group Company. So dun po makikita na for Dongwang, Sun Valley Clark Hub, and CGC Technologies, lahat po yan may kontrata, lahat din po yan na isuhan po ng business permit ng CDC. However, pagdating po dun sa Colorful and Leap Group Company, na siya pong respondent dun sa search warrants na na-issue, wala pong record sa amin yun, Senator.
With the permission of the chair.
Yes, please, Sen Sherwin.
Let's go one by one, itong slide na ito. Si Colorful and Leap Group, may lease agreement siya with CGC?
Wala po. Sa records po namin, wala po silang isinumuti.
Sa records nyo, but based on your investigation, based on the PNP's investigation, do they have any contractual agreement between CGC and Colorful and Leap?
Based on the explanation of CGC Technologies, pinaupa daw po niya sa Color and Leap Group Company.
Based kanino?
Sa explanation po na sinumuti ng CGC Technologies sa CDC. Kasi po dahil nangyari to, nag-issue po kami ng cease and desist order tsaka notice to explain. Tinanong po namin, sino ba yung colorful na yan? Nung sumagot po sila, sinabi nila na lessee po nila, si colorful.
So on record, sinabi ni CGC na lessee nila si Colorful.
Yes po.
And based on your policy, do they need to report to CDC?
Yes po,
Any
Senator. Yes po.
lease
Any
agreement?
further subleasing should have been reported to
So
us.
it's established that si CGC and Colorful Leap, meron silang business relationship.
Yes po,
They know one
Senator.
another.
Yes po, Senator.
Okay. Nakita ko dito, no, based on your land area, okay, mas maliit si CGC.
Yes po.
And you mentioned that CGC occupies 2 buildings.
Yes po.
Okay.
Senator, if I can go to the next slide.
Okay.
Mas clear po
Parang
doon.
alam mo na yung tatanungin ko, ano? Sige.
Yan po,
Yeah.
Senator.
Yan. Sige, go ahead.
So,
With
as
the
you-
indulgence, the
Yes,
permission of the
please,
chair.
Sen. Sherwin, you have the floor.
So as you can see, Senator, we have the 8 buildings. Yung naka-box po na red, yun po yung sinublease ni Sun Valley Clark Hub kay CGC Technologies. Yan po yung BPO 1 and BPO 2 or Office 1 and Office 2 po kung tinatawag. So for the whole area, for those buildings inside the blue square, blue box, yan naman po yung buong area ni Sun Valley Clark Hub as a POGO hub with the license from PAGCOR. And for CGC naman po, they were able to secure the accreditation and authority to operate from the PAGCOR for buildings 1 and 2, Senator.
So let's again break it down one by one. So the whole blue box is Sun Valley. That's documented.
Yes, Senator.
And then Sun Valley leased it to CGC.
The-
That's buildings C and E.
Yes, Senator.
Yun yung red box.
Yes po.
And allegedly, they subleased it to Colorful and Leaf.
According to CGC, Senator.
According to them. No,
Yes
the
po.
testimony came from them.
Yes po.
And that's duly recorded.
That's
correct?
in their letter of explanation which they have submitted to us.
So first, they violated your own rules because they didn't report the subleasing agreement. And then second, yung nahuli, itong yung mga 1,100
1,127 po.
27 human traffic victims. Saan sila nakita?
They were all scattered in the residential area.
Doon sa building na 8 building na, where were they rescued?
Senator, the PNP can answer that insofar as the locations of the foreign nationals per building.
Sige, I'll ask them
Sen.
later.
Sherwin,
Yeah.
if I may,
Yeah, go ahead.
before we go to the PNP, on your question, nakita po namin nung ocular inspection na yung dorms, ang nakitira dun sa dorms ay yung scam hub traffic victims mismo. So, pati yung dorms, bahagi din ng operation, Sen. Sherwin.
Madam Chair, and to
Ng Sun Valley Clark, Sen. Sherwin.
yung dorm, is that also the dorm? Kasi
Yes
dyan
po.
sa dorm,
Yes
halo-halo
po.
na yan, dorm,
Yes po,
office.
kasi when PAGCOR issues, if you will allow me, PAGCOR issues the POGO Hub license, dapat one-stop shop po yan eh. Parang it's all there. You have the residential, you have the BPO facility, you have canteens, restaurants, laundry shop.
Yeah, but for this particular illustration, they have the door, yan 8 buildings yan, dorms, offices, and other facilities yan.
Yes po.
But saan na-rescue yung 1,000 plus victims? Based on the PNP report.
Based on the PNP report,
We'll ask PNP later on, but we'll ask you. No.
they were rescued at A, B, C, D, E, and F.
A, B,
C, D, E, and F po.
and F.
Because these were the areas where the search warrants were implemented.
So,
And Sen. Sherwin, if I may just add to your line of questioning, therefore, since yung mga human trafficking victims, scam hub, sapilitang scam hub operators were rescued during the raid, were rescued in the dorms, actually, Sen Sherwin, it seems CDC could file a case even against Sun Valley Clark kasi may kontrata ang Sun Valley Clark also for the dorms, Sen Sherwin.
Good point, Madam Chair. So, doon sa letter C and E, merong na rescue traffic victims.
Meron po.
That's
Based on the list,
based on the police report.
based on the PNP list that they submitted
And that's
po.
confirmed.
Opo.
So, C and E, which is under officially
CGC.
subleased to CGC.
Yes po.
So in other words, in the building that CGC controls or is leasing, merong mga victims doon.
Yes po.
Okay. Who has control over Sun Valley Clark and the CGC building? Who has physical control of that itong
If-
Sun Valley Clark?
If we base it from the approvals and the submissions to CDC, ideally it should be Sun Valley who's just operating the A, B, D, F, G and the dorm 1. And CGC being the sublessee of Sun Valley should have operated by themselves Office 1 and 2.
I'll break it down in simple terms. When I go there to the Sun Valley Clark, kaninong security guard din nandoon?
I would suppose it would be from Sun Valley.
No, but you're CDC, you should know. Diba? How will you inspect if you don't know who
Yes,
controls
it would be the Sun Valley as the hub operator
So
po.
the Sun Valley controls the compound.
Yes po.
They have security guards.
Yes.
In fact, pumunta rin kami doon eh. Now we had inspection also. Yung security guard nila nasa gate.
Yes po.
So you cannot go in without the authorization of Sun Valley security guard.
Yes po.
Confirm yan.
Yes po.
Okay.
Yesterday din po kasi when I was with the ocular team, I also heard them that the control of the security guards was with Sun Valley Clark
Okay.
Hub po.
In building C and D, who has control?
Been building CNE,
Yes.
CGC po.
So may security guard si CGC doon.
I would not tell if security guard or
But building C and E, is that cordoned within the
Hindi.
compound?
Hindi po. It's part of the compound eh. Wala mang pong harang. It's
So
just
if you
an
go into
entry.
the building, if you go in building C and E, whose security guards are there?
I would think it's Sun Valley po.
It's Sun Valley.
Opo.
Not
Parang
CGC.
isa lang po ang, because Senator, all of their access pass, when we spoke with the PNP, it's all under Sun Valley.
Okay, so in building C and E, CGC is not in control of that building, in possession, control, securing that building.
I cannot say, Senator.
Okay. Sige. So in your opinion, since they have control and they have possession, no? I heard you use legal possession of that area, tama?
For Sun Valley
For
po.
Sun Valley, they have legal possession and control of that building. Hindi makakapasok yung mga biktima nang wala nilang authorization.
Yes po.
Hindi rin magkakaroon ng scam kung hindi magkakaroon ng scam kung pipigilin nila.
Yes po.
So in other words, alam nila lahat na nangyayari dyan.
Based on the evidence, yes sir, alam po nila.
They know the scam is happening in their premises because they control it. You cannot go in there without an ID, correct?
Yes po.
So alam nila yung scam na nangyayari doon?
Yes po.
Alam nila na mayroong 1,000 plus human trafficking?
Yes po.
trafficking?
Yes po.
Okay, alam nila doon.
Yes
Okay.
po. Alam po ni Sun Valley.
So that's the second violation. They have control, they have legal possession, and yet they allowed the operation of scamming in their premises as well as bringing in traffic victims.
Yes, Senator.
That's your analysis. Okay. All right. Who owns Sun Valley and CGC? Sun Valley muna. Unahin muna natin yan.
If I may, I have the
Who is the
GIS.
representative who owns? Hindi ko alam. I don't know. So,
For Sun Valley Clark Hub, based on the submitted GIS, the president is Kevin Christopher Wong, Senator.
okay.
If you will allow me to read the other directors.
Okay. Sun Valley muna and then let's go to CGC because it's established that they control the premises. It's established that they have legal possession of the premises. So now who are the personalities
For
behind?
the Sun Valley, Senator, for the declared president, it's Kevin Christopher K. Wong. The treasurer is Kimberly Claire K. Wong. The corporate secretary is Lance Rydel C. Chu. And then the other directors are Ziyang Huang and Ding Kai Wang, Senator.
Okay. Who owns CGC?
Senator, if I may read again the GIS po.
With the permission of the chair, of course.
Yes, please proceed.
For CGC Technologies, the president is Kevin Christopher K. Wong. The corporate treasurer is Lance Rydel Chu. The corporate secretary is Hanifa D. Bedar. And the other directors are Kimberly Claire K. Wong, Catherine Crizel K. Wong, and Perry Neil Lee, Senator.
So the owners of Sun Valley and CGC are the same?
May interlocking directors po, but not exactly the same,
So who's the
Senator.
president of Sun Valley?
It's Christopher Kevin Wong.
Who's the president of CGC?
It's Christopher Kevin Wong.
So it's the same
Yes
personality.
po.
So I don't have the breakdown of the shareholdings, but it seems to me that the personalities behind Sun Valley, Clark, and CGC are one and the same. Correct?
Yes, Senator.
Okay, and in other words, the personalities behind, since they have operational, they have security control of that area, will know what's happening within their premises.
Yes, Senator.
Tama?
Opo.
Have you talked to the owners?
Sa side po namin, hindi po.
So who did you interview? The lawyers? Nila?
No, for the explanation. We
Yes.
just, it's all in writing, Senator, when
Okay.
we wrote
Eh,
them.
who was writing you?
It was one of the signatories was Christopher. Let me check on the record, Senator,
So
if I
who's
may.
on record communicating with CDC?
Senator, I just don't have the letters that they sent. But if my memory serves me right, one of the signatories for the CGC was Christopher.
So it's the owners or the president of the company.
But it was not the president who signed, Senator. It
Who-
was a director.
It was a director.
Yes po.
Which one? Anyways, just submit. Just
To submit po.
Yeah, Madam Chair, if your permission, can we request CDC to submit to us all
Yes po.
communication, pertinent documents related to this topic?
Yes.
And with the permission
Please
of,
do so, Attorney Meneses. And then, yes, San Francis.
permission of Senator Gatchalian, perhaps the
Yes, please.
Securities and Exchange Commission should likewise validate any submission coming from the CTC as to the corporate papers
Apo.
and to the interlocking board of directors you just mentioned.
Yes, Senator. We
So,
will submit
COMSEC,
po.
thank you, Attorney Meneses. COMSEC, please note, once the committee receives the documents from the CDC, to please have these validated by the SEC as requested by Sen. Tolentino. Yes, please proceed, Sen. Sherwin.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, I would like to direct my question to the PNP who was involved. I know the PNP has several agencies, but I believe it's the anti-cybercrime group. Sino po yung involved dito sa operations?
General Ernia, please respond.
Magandang umaga po, Madam Chair, Senator Win Gatchalian. Ako po si Police Brigadier General Sidney Hernia, pinuno po ng anti-cybercrime group. The lead unit po dito sa operations is yung aming unit po, the anti-cybercrime group. And we were supported by the Special Action Force, the intelligence group, and the highway patrol group. But basically, the most number of personnel came from the Special Action Force. Because during these operations, we generated more than 400 personnel for these operations.
General, I just want to ask you, based dito sa illustration sa board, no? May 8 building ho dyan. Saan nyo ho nahuli yung mga human traffic victims?
Upon our arrival at the site, Your Honors, dito po sa building C and E, Dyan po yung actual operations ng company. So nahuli po natin yung mga tao dyan, nakita natin dyan, they were actually dyan po mismo sa building C and E, naabutan po ng ating mga raiding teams, no, red-handed in flagrante delicto po, na ando sa mga computers lahat ng mga tao. So halos karamihan po dito dyan po sa building C and E. But there were others who were rescued in other buildings, especially dito sa building F. Andyan po yung mga resigning members ng kumpanya, yung mga nagtatrabaho na gusto na mag-resign, andyan po sa building F. And some
Nasa dark rooms ba, General?
wala po kami nakita po sa dark.
Okay, please proceed.
And there were some who were in buildings A and B, doon sa mga dormitories. Maybe they were on off duty kaya andun sila. But majority of them ay nakita po natin dito sa building C and E.
Nung pumunta ko kayo doon, General, obviously may security guard, no?
Yes,
Tama?
Your Honor, yes.
Sino po yung security, kaninong security guard po yung nasa gate? Did you get the name and the
We have-
company and who are they representing?
Ang pangalan po ng security agency is Delta 4.
Okay, sino ho ang kliyente nila? Obviously, agency lang sila eh. Sino po ang nagbabayad ho sa kanila?
Your Honors, hindi pa po namin na kumpleto investigation but we have requested yung ating SOSYA. Sila po yung office ng PNP which is directly responsible sa documents dito sa agency. So hinihintay pa namin yung mga documents na ibibigay sa amin. But sa ngayon, ang nasa amin is the name of the agency which is Delta 4.
Doon ba sa building C and E, meron bang security guard ho doon?
Doon sa building C and E, meron pong mga gwardiya po doon sa lobby. And then doon sa main gate, andun din po yung bulk ng numbers of guards na andun sa gate.
Isa lang ba ang agency for the entire compound?
Nag-iisa lang po.
Isang agency?
Delta 4 lang po.
Delta
4.
Delta 4. General, can you please submit to the committee the contract, the most recent contract of that security agency pertaining to this compound? The security
Please do so,
agency
General.
representing someone. No? Obviously, they're representing Sun Valley or CGC. But we want to determine on record who is their official client.
We will do that, Your Honor.
Pakisubmit na lang po sa amin. And lastly, Madam Chair, with your permission,
Yes, please,
to
Sherwin.
PAGCOR. Ngayon ko lang,
Sherwin, if you don't mind, before we leave the
Yes,
General Ern, just one question, General, para sa PNP. Hindi particular dito sa Sun Valley, pero tungkol sa isa pang site na earlier na identify ng isa ring Indonesian victim survivor, yun pong sa Bayport na Iya West Residences. Kasi kanina sinabi din po ni Yusek T, bukod sa Clark, Paranaque yung isang scam hub hotspot. So what about po those scam hubs in Paranaque? Alam ko po hanggang ngayon daw, nagre-recruit pa rin sila dun sa Bayport na Iya West Residences. At yung ad na ipapakita ko mabilis, literally May 28, kahapon lang. Nagaano pa rin sila. Ito po ba ay maano na rin po, mabibigyan ng karampatang law enforcement attention ng PNP?
Madam Chair, yung doon po sa Bayport, wala po kaming na conduct na police operations doon. But I heard, I think PAGCOR made an inspection of that area. And we're not part of that inspection. Now, dito po sa ibang mga reported allegedly, meron daw mga scam, ongoing po yung aming mga surveillance activities. And as soon as we get the necessary information and we can, or that information is enough, for us to file a search warrant, then those companies will be the subject of our police operations po.
Salamat, General Ernia. The committee actually provided the information we had on the Bayport NAIA West residences to the NBI and also to the PNP. So mag-follow up na lang po siguro yung komite sa PNP if you can also take appropriate action vis-a-vis Bayport NAIA West residences. So back to you, Sen. Sherwin, for your questions for PAGCOR.
Thank you, Senator Risa. Senator Risa, in the interest of fairness, no, may I know if CGC and Sun Valley and their representatives were invited to the hearing?
We did not. The committee did not invite them, Sen. Sherwin, but we may do so in the next hearing.
May I request that the representatives, the owners, and the personalities behind the Sun Valley, the official name is Sun Valley
Clark
Hub Corporation,
Yes.
no? And CGC Technology Incorporated be invited to the next hearing, Madam.
Comsec, let's please do that.
Thank
We'll
you.
do censure.
To PAGCOR, ngayon lang ako nakarinig ng Pogo Hub na ina-accredit. I thought Pogo Hub is a concept, no? I've heard some people talk about it, but now ina-accredit ang Pogo Hub. Pakigamit po yung mic para marinig namin boses niyo, ma'am.
Attorney Jessa Fernandez.
Good afternoon, everyone. That is true, Mr. Chair. Under the Offshore Gaming Regulatory Manual, there is an accreditation for what we call a POGO hub. The concept of a POGO hub is that it should be a complex wherein there will be offices and then dormitories, convenience stores, everything that the workers will be needing inside the compound, inside the hub. Ideally, it should also have the offices of government agencies that are supposed to be usually needed by the workers. Example, the Department of Labor and Employment or the Bureau of Immigration or the BIR. However, at present, the Sun Valley Clark Hub Corporation did not have those offices inside their the complex.
Since when did you accredit Pogo Hubs? When did this accreditation start?
It started in 2018, Mr.
In
Chair.
2018. How many Pogo Hubs have you accredited?
2, Mr. Chair.
Where are those?
The one is in Sun Valley Clark Hub Corp. The one is Sun Valley Clark Hub Corporation, located in Mabalacat, Pampanga, and the other one is the one located in Island Cove, the First Orient Corporation.
Do they put any bond, any security, anything that will guarantee compliance to their mandates?
Unfortunately, Mr. Chair, based on the manual, there is no bond required from
So walang
these
bond. And
hubs.
are they, I don't know, I don't have the regulation for your Pogo Hub, no, because this is the first time I've heard of such. But under the agreement, no, I assume there's an agreement between PAGCOR and the operator of the Pogo Hub, correct? Who, tama? Attorney, use
Yes,
the
sir.
mic, please,
Yes, sir.
kasi hindi marirecord po eh.
Apo.
Who maintains peace and order?
The peace and order, sir, should be the responsibility of the hub because they
That's
should
specified in the agreement?
actually no, sir.
So
It's
what
not
is
specified.
specified in the agreement?
There's no actually mention of the peace and order with regard to the agreement with the hub.
In the agreement, is it specified the control of the premises? Who
No,
control-
Mr. Chair.
So wala rin yun. Okay. And then you mentioned that government agencies should be present. Is that in the agreement?
Actually, under the rules, it's ideal that the agencies will be given offices inside these
No, is it mandated
locations.
or is it ideal, encouraged? Different to eh.
Actually, sir, it should be required. However, we have yet to.
Those are required under
yes.
your own rules,
Yes.
correct?
Yes.
It's a prerequisite.
it's not actually a prerequisite, but during the duration of the agreement, there should be an agreement with the government agencies to locate inside the hubs, sir.
Okay. Who facilitates the location of the government agencies there?
Actually, it should be the hubs should be coordinating with the agency so that they will be able to locate inside the premises.
Okay. So who facilitates? Who goes to, let's say, I would assume Bureau of Immigration, diba? And tell them, oh, punta naman kayo dito. You set up an office. Who does that? Is it PAGCOR or them? Who's the responsibility? Who's responsible? That's my point.
Based on the what happened in the past, sir, the owner of the hubs were directed to coordinate with the government agencies through with the support from PAGCOR, Mr.
Okay.
Chair.
So it's the responsibility of the
Owner, sir.
owner. It's
Yes, sir.
specified in the contract.
Yes, sir.
Okay. How many agencies should be located in that area, in the hubs?
Sir, let me just check with the manual.
PNP
sir.
one of them?
No, sir.
PNP is not one of them?
No, sir.
NBI, is it?
Let me just check which agency, sir. I'm
Identify
just
nyo. Okay, sige. Well, they're getting the data on which agencies. In these two accredited Pogo Hub that you mentioned, are there government offices inside the premises already?
none, sir.
So wala. Is that a violation of the contract between PAGCOR?
Yes, sir.
It's a violation. So kung walang government offices doon, they violate the Pogo Hub contract with PAGCOR.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Dalawa, sabi mo wala. So what happens next?
Actually, sir, the Sun Valley Clark Hub Corporation accreditation was already canceled. With regard to the First Orient, sir, we are already conducting investigation on the project implementation plan on how do they, on the timeline that they have given us to coordinate with the agencies to locate in their area, sir.
So have they violated the timeline?
Sir, we have yet to to finish the investigation, sir, with regard to
When
the
was the
First
contract
Orient.
consummated?
In the accreditation was given in 2019, sir.
In 2019? Ano
Yes.
na ngayon? 4 na
Yes,
taon na.
sir. So the accreditation that we have actually given them is just provisional. So the accreditation will only become regular, or it will just not be provisional if they have already complied with all of the requirements provided under the offshore gaming
Yeah, but it's already
regulatory.
4 years.
And Sen Sherwin, I noted in their slide, the provisional accreditation is still 2029. So hindi naman sana mag-iintay ng 6 na taon pa bago makumpleto, Sen Sherwin.
I agree, Mr. Chair. So, kayo nagbigay ng contract, kayo nag-specify na dapat may government agency, pero hindi niyo ini-enforce. 2019 pa ito eh. Tama?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Ba't ninyo ini-enforce?
Actually, sir, we are already following up the
Yeah, but
implementation
the
of this.
follow-up, obviously the following up is nothing, no? It's ending up nothing. Diba? I mean, it's nothing's happening. Correct? I mean, you've been following up since 2019. It's already 4 years. So it's going nowhere. So wala ba kayong drastic action na gagawin?
Mr. Chair, dito po sa First Orient, mapagbalik ko po, gagawa na po ako ng drastic action para po mapuwersa po natin
How
sila na
many times have
magpasok.
you inspected si Sun Valley and si, what's the name of the other one?
First Orient.
First
Mr.
Orient.
Chair. Mr. Chair, may I refer you to our monitoring teams?
How many times do you inspect that?
We
facility?
inspect it, sir.
Sir, sorry, you are attorney.
I am Brigadier General
I'm sorry, General
Raul
Villanueva.
Villanueva, sir,
Please proceed, sir.
Senior Vice President for Monitoring and for Security and Monitoring Cluster of PAGCOR. It's a new officer. We inspect the place twice a week, sir.
Unahin muna natin si First Orient. How many times do you inspect the place?
It's
What is in
included,
your
sir.
rule, in your guidelines? how many times do you have to inspect the place?
We have to inspect it twice a week, sir.
Twice a week.
Because we have very limited personnel. And
Yeah, but you only have 2 Pogo hubs.
yes, sir.
So you don't have to monitor so many things, sir.
Yes, sir.
Only 2 Pogo hubs. So how many times in your regulation, how many times do you need to inspect? Twice a week.
Twice a week, sir.
So itong si First Orient, since 2019, twice a week nyo dapat ini-inspect.
Yes, sir.
Nasaan na yung mga government offices?
And, sir.
Kung twice a week nyo ini-inspect siya. Alam niyo yung PAGCOR, pinagloloko nyo kami, to be honest about it. Eh. That's why we're all in this problem. Hindi nyo ginagawa yung trabaho ninyo eh. You said twice a week nyo i-inspect. Pero hanggang ngayon, wala pa rin government offices. Si Sun Valley, how many times did you inspect?
It's the same, sir.
Twice a week nyo in-inspect, pero may 1,100 human traffic victims doon?
Yes, sir.
Anong klaseng inspection ginawa nyo?
Apparently, sir, there was some problem with our monitoring team, sir.
What's the problem with your monitoring?
Medyo, ito din,
Na-corrupt.
kulang din ng ano to, sir, mga...
Nabulag sila.
The last time that it was inspected, sir, before the raid, it was last April 28.
But you said twice a week you need to inspect.
Yes,
There are only 2 Pogo hubs in the whole Philippines,
sir.
and you need to inspect it twice.
Yes.
So paano nangyari itong 1,100 plus human traffic victims nakalampas sa inspectors ninyo?
Palagay ko, sir, kasi very sophisticated na rin itong mga syndicates ngayon, sir.
Paano magiging sophisticated? The buildings are there, identified ng CDC in buildings. Pag pumunta kayo doon, what type of inspection do you do?
Yes,
Your
sir.
PAGCOR.
Usually, sir, ang ini-inspect kasi nila, sir, yung dun sa dalawang building lang, sir, 1 and 2. And then, actually, we required them to report their inspection and take some pictures, sir. May mga pictures tayo
Yeah,
dun,
but
sir.
you said, okay, when did itong Sun Valley, when was it accredited
Anong year?
by PAGCOR?
2019.
January 15, 2019.
Saka Sen Sherwin, may problem ang monitoring ng PAGCOR, may problem ang monitoring ng CDC. So, saan tayo pupulutin, magiging trafficking haven na lang? No? So, ano
Yes,
na
sir.
po? Sen Sherwin.
January 15, 2019, sir.
January 15, 2019 rin. Twice a week kayo nag-i-inspect.
Yes, sir.
Pero meron 1,160 plus human traffic there. Paano nangyari yon? Can you explain to us paano nangyari yon, PAGCOR? And why we should not abolish PAGCOR?
Actually, sir, the latest inspection, sir, was April 28. So, April 28 of 2023.
Okay.
Before the raid, sir.
Oh.
And during the inspection, wala naman sila nakita, sir, na irregularities at that time. So,
Paano
kasi-
nangyari? Yung police may nakita, yung CDC may nakita, yung PAGCOR na nagbigay ng lisensya, walang nakita.
Yes, sir.
Obviously, na-corrupt yung mga inspectors nyo.
Yes, sir.
Obviously, kayo hindi nyo rin ginagawa trabaho ninyo because in your regulation, government offices should be there. Kasali ba dyan dapat Bureau of Immigration? Sa required offices?
Actually, sir, upon verification, there's no specified agency, but it should have partner government and law enforcement agencies.
Ano? Can you repeat that?
Partner government and law enforcement
Okay.
agencies.
Is the PNP, attorney answer this, is the PNP a law enforcement agency?
Yes, Mr.
Is the
Chair.
BI a law enforcement agency?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Should they be inside the Pogo Hub?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Andun ba sila?
Wala po, Mr. Chair.
Since 2019.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Kung nandun ang PNP and BI, will this human trafficking incident happen?
There is a very low possibility that this will happen.
Since you didn't enforce your own regulation, sino ngayon ang may responsibilidad?
PAGCOR, Mr. Chair.
So anong dapat gawin namin sa PAGCOR because of this?
I think, sir, there should just be, we should be the one to improve our regulations as well as our monitoring. Gaya nga po ng nasabi ng mga kasama natin dito, nung nangyari pong event ito or even before
Bottom
this
line, kasi
happened, sir.
attorney, you can give us 1,000,001 reasons. Bottom line, PAGCOR is corrupt. Na-corrupt kayo. Hindi nyo ginagawa yung trabaho ninyo. Pinikit nyo yung mata ninyo, pinikit nyo yung inspectors, mata ng mga inspectors ninyo, hindi nyo sila pinakomply. Ang tanong, bakit treat them with special, why is it being given a special treatment? 2019, it's already 4 years.
Actually, sir, hindi naman po 2019 nagsimula ang kanilang operations. So
Whatever,
this
whether
is
it's 2019, it's 1 year, twice a week kayo nag-i-inspect. Twice a week nyo alam walang law enforcement agencies dyan. Twice a week kayong pumupunta dyan physically. And you tell me you didn't see 1,160 plus different nationalities being trafficked in that area? Ang tanong ko sa inyo, with this incident, is the Pogo Hub still a viable option? Tanong ko sa iyo, attorney.
I think, Mr. Chair, it will only be viable if the government agencies and law enforcement agencies will be there
When PAGCOR
inside.
is corrupt, do you still think that the Pogo Hub concept will be effective for the country?
Yes, Mr. Chair, as long as the regulations will be properly
Yeah, but
enforced
hindi nyo ini-enforce
inside.
yung regulation eh.
We will enforce, Mr. Chair.
After nangyari na ito, alam nyo, to be honest about it, this brings international shame to us. The Philippines is becoming a scam hub, hindi Pogo hub, a scam hub. Pogo being used as front for scams. Pogo's being used as front for human trafficking. Because PAGCOR is corrupt and not doing its job. That's the bottom line. Pinagloloko nyo kami. Imposible, if twice a week in inspection ninyo, imposible hindi nyo makikita yan. Just put PNP and BI dyan, wala na tayong problema ngayon. Why take 4 years of inaction? That's why I don't believe in this. Kahit anong sabihin niyo, if you are corrupt, kahit Pogo Hub pa yan, or whatever concept you want to develop, it's not gonna work because PAGCOR is corrupt. Ang nanggaling sa'yo na information, I don't have any previous information. All of that came from you. In twice a week, in regulation, in inspection. It's not, hindi ka manggaling sa akin yan, galing sa inyo lahat yan. In any case, Madam Chair, PAGCOR, please submit to us all the documents regarding Pogo Hubs, your regulation, all the inspection reports. Submit to us so we can analyze that.
And specifically, Sen Sherwin, in terms of the information about the Pogo hubs, please submit an updated list of the licensed Pogos and also the Pogo service providers.
Will do, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you, Attorney. Thank you, Sen Sherwin. Sen Francis, do you want to raise?
Just a few questions.
Yes, please. And
Madam
then the chair will also raise last few questions to alias Jason, and then also finally to the International Organization of Migration for our regional perspective. San Francis.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Balikan ko yung IACAT. You confirmed a while ago during my earlier questioning that there were instances of recruited victims, rescued victims going back abroad to be rescued again. And I'm asking you for a record. Has there been an instance of victims rescued here, Philippine soil, who were repatriated, who eventually returned to the Philippines willingly or unwillingly? Do we have records coming from the BID, or can the IACAT furnish us some data?
We don't have that data yet, Mr. Senator, but we can.
It's the reverse.
Yes, sir.
So is it possible that some of the victims, the names we're trying to validate were previously repatriated?
Sir, the previous practice of BI when it comes to these foreign nationals is to actually deport them. If they're deported, they're blacklisted and they won't be able to come back. But for this group,
Perhaps
we-
using a different passport, another name.
yes. For this group, what the BI did is that on the allowed departure order, there's actually a statement there that they are classified as trafficking victims. And this will be on their record so that if they attempt to come back, it will be flagged that they were previously repatriated as trafficking victims and we can deal with them appropriately.
What if they use another travel document? Is it possible?
Yes.
Commissioner Tansinko, would you like to address the question?
We have actually experiences na not traffic victims but foreign nationals using different passports, different names. But we
Same
can
person,
same person, but we can detect them.
previously red flagged,
Yes,
returning to the Philippines under another name.
another name, another passport. We can detect through facial recognition. Yeah,
That's a new technology. So
Yes, Your Honor.
you confirm that it can happen.
it can happen, Your Honor.
Earlier, Senator Gatchalian asked about the accreditation of the Pogo firm. When was this canceled?
Pardon, Mr. Chair.
When was this canceled, the accreditation?
Of CGC, Mr. Chair.
Yes, yes,
On May 18, 2023, Mr. Chair.
yes, this month.
Yes, sir.
On what grounds?
On the ground of their involvement in criminal activities, Mr. Chair.
And then, of course, there was a semblance of a hearing made, paper submitted, and a final determination made by PAGCOR.
Yes,
to
Mr.
warrant
Chair.
the cancellation of the accreditation.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
And then earlier, General Villanueva mentioned when asked by Senator Gatchalian that they conduct inspections twice a week. Are these reports furnished the CDC? Perhaps I can ask the CDC. Are you aware of the inspection reports?
No,
that,
Senator.
San Francis, maybe President CEO De Vanadera is also still online.
President Agnes de Benadera?
Yes, Your Honor. We are not aware of.
But are you aware of a practice being done by PAGCOR that they inspect? Because
We
they,
have not-
they enter PAGCOR, they enter CDC premises, and perhaps your security forces or team would detect that there is a PAGCOR visitorial team conducting inspection. Is this not being reported to your office?
Sir, we don't have any report of that sort, Your Honor. It
San
does
Francis, maybe we could also
not
ask
of
our
record, Your Honor.
maybe we could also ask alias Jason, one of our victim survivors,
Yes.
what the company would do when PAGCOR would enter the
Yes,
premises.
I still would like to pursue another question. Mr. Chair.
Please proceed,
Do
San
you
Francis.
PAGCOR, do you furnish CDC a copy of your inspection report?
No, sir.
Siguro dapat yun na yung gawin.
We'll do that,
Para
sir.
matapos na. Kasi
Yes, sir.
kulang ang taon CDC, i-furnish nyo lang sila,
Yes, sir.
tapos, di ba?
Yes, sir. We'll do that, sir.
It's a matter of
Immediately.
coordination. Mas madali pa yon. So, in effect, you will be an extension of the inspection arm of CDC. Madam Chair, you have a question to be addressed to,
San Francis, yes. Jason,
before I pursue my other line of questions.
yes, of course. What would the company do whenever PAGCOR would conduct its inspections? Did you notice?
So when I work there, the inspection is only once a week, and only as I'm not mistaken, only in Tuesday or in Wednesday, once a week, and then the company will give us signal in the speaker if the Chinese song play. It's the sign that the PAGCOR will inspect. And then half of us will hiding in the dorm and close all the curtain and lock the dorm door and we are not allowed to, like a sound, make a sound or voice or something. Thank you.
Terima kasih, Jason. So, St. Francis, there would be a code Chinese song to warn them, half of them, to hide in the dorms. And probably also, St. Sherwin, that's why when the inspection was done, not even twice a week, St. Francis, but once a week, Tuesday or Wednesday, probably that's why when the inspection would happen, somehow they didn't see all those human trafficking victims. Back to you, St. Francis.
General Villanueva, nung pag kasama ka ba sa inspection team?
No, sir.
Ah,
We
hindi
have
ka.
PAGCOR monitoring teams.
Yung PAGCOR monitoring team mo, nagre-report sa'yo.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Nakakarinig daw sila ng songs, kaya wala nakikita.
I'll check, sir, but I haven't heard from them, sir, about it, sir.
Wala naririnig.
None, sir.
So you deny the playing of songs? Baka naman naka-headset yung mga tao mo.
I'll check, sir.
Just kidding. But
And St. Francis, so maybe there was a tipster inside who knew that PAGCOR would inspect. Kasi paano nila alam? Paano sila makatugtog nung code Chinese
Madam
song na
Chair.
yun?
Yes, sir.
General
We
Villanueva.
suspect that also, sir. Medyo malakas din ang network nito, sir. Ma'am, in last 26
you're
May,
responding to my query
Yes, sir.
or to the query of the chair?
the query of the chair, sir.
Okay.
Last May 26, sir, we, together with other government agencies, law enforcement agencies, we launched the Oplan Baywatch, targeting Tribes Technology Corporation.
Is that the one in Parañaque, General
sir.
Villanueva?
In Baywatch, Bayport West, NAIA Residences Tower 4, specifically in Barangay Tambo, Parañaque, sir. Yung nakita namin dun, sir, I personally supervise the operation because it was a PAGCOR-led interagency operation to inspect Tribes Technology Corporation because we suspected already. We have some reports from our PAGCOR monitoring teams about cryptocurrency scamming, sir, and the lab scam. It's the same platform, sir, ng nasa Sun Valley. Parehas na parehas siya, ma'am. Ang problema lang, pagdating namin dun, ma'am, wala na yung mga computers.
Baka may tumugtog ng Chinese
sir.
code song doon.
Oo. Pero marami silang naiwan at saka yung mga foreigners, about 102 of them are missing already. Pero may mga naiwan pa sila mga evidences, yung mga vault, yung mga money counter, including thousands of SIM cards yung ginagamit nila at saka mga cellphones, ma'am.
General, did the vaults also contain code cash katulad dito po sa
Most
club?
likely, ma'am. And may mga studio din, ma'am, and other things. Parehas na
Rooms,
Yes,
parehas.
yes, ma'am. So we immediately suspended Tribes Technology Corporation, and we're coordinating now with the BI and for the whereabouts of the 102 foreigners, and including with the DOJ for the filing of appropriate criminal charges to the management of Tribes Technology Corporation, ma'am.
Thank you, General. St. Francis, you still have the floor.
Yes. Kanina pa may nabanggit na colorful lip. Ano po yung, ma'am, CDC, ano po yung colorful lip? Makulay na talon, ano ibig sabihin nun?
This is the alleged corporation operating in Clark, Senator, pero sila po yung nakalagay sa search warrant as the respondent.
And are you familiar with the corporate personalities?
Wala po kaming record, Senator, sa Colorful and Leap Group Company.
When PAGCOR made the inspection, sino in-inspect nyo? Colorful lip ba? O kasi yung dalawang building, colorful lip eh.
CGC company, sir. Not the colorful. Kasi hindi naman registered sa amin yan, and we do not know anything about the colorful company.
Colorful lip po, ganong katagal na nag-ooperate?
We have no record, Senator. Pero for CGC, they
Nakasama
start...
dun sa diagram nyo.
Opo, kaya po broken line siya. Kasi po, wala siya talagang personality sa CDC.
Na-determine na merong colorful lip.
Yun po kasi yung nakalagay sa search warrants na ginamit po ng PNP, Senator.
So can we ask the PNP? The source of colorful lip?
General Hernia, please.
Yes, Madam Chair, Senator Tolentino.
Yes, sir.
In the application of our search warrant, we got information from our informants, and those informants actually, or the information that we got actually came from inside the hub, and they were talking about Colorful and Leap Company. So when we apply for the search warrant, we use the name Colorful and Leap Company because those inside told us that they were employed by Colorful and Leap Company.
No records, but just the same, the judge issued a warrant uh, describing the premises as under the control of Colorful Lip. Kahit hindi, nagpunta kayo sa SEC kung sino itong Colorful Lip.
Just
magkaiba ba yun? Magkaiba si Colorful at si Lip. Lip
Yes,
ba? Lip
yes, Your
dahon o tumalon?
No, Leap na talon, L-E-A-P.
So dalawang kumpanya.
Yes, Your Honor.
So nagpunta po kayo sa SEC?
After the operations na, Your Honor, we requested from SEC. We inquire about Colorful and Leap.
So
Leap has no legal identity.
Okay.
But for Colorful,
so there is
we
a
got-
Colorful corporation.
yes, we got the document, but it is not yet authenticated.
But for the records, you can divulge to this committee with the permission of the chair. Sino yung Colorful?
Please proceed.
Colorful. The incorporators of this Colorful group consist of two Taiwanese and three Filipinos, Your Honor.
Can you name them? Because
The-
that's part of the records, official records emanating from the Securities and Exchange Commission.
Your Honor, this is not yet an authenticated copy. We are requesting for
Kaya nga
an
dapat
authenticated
nandito,
copy.
Sec.
So maybe
So-
we can ask Your Honor the
Can you
SEC.
show it to me? To this committee with
General, please show it to the
and
committee.
to the chairperson.
And reassuring San Francis, we will invite the SEC to the next hearing.
Madam Chair, that this representation was shown a copy of a SEC document attributed to the Articles of Incorporation of Colorful Lip Technologies. Sa nakita ko po, iba naman yung pangalan. So, CDC, sa inyong pagkakaalam po, ganun katagal na nandoon sa compound si Colorful? Iba pa pala yung lip.
President CEO De Vanadera, are you online?
In fact, Your Honor, that we don't really have a record of this Colorful and Leap. It is difficult to venture into an answer as to when they are in operation. However, for CGC Technologies, since they registered with us and their sublease with the Sun Valley Clark Hub has been approved, that's the thing that we can be certain of, Your Honor.
Thank you. But I think, ma'am, as former, thank you, DOJ,
Yes, Your Honor.
Solicitor General,
Yes, Your Honor.
ERC,
Yes, Your Honor.
do you confirm, ma'am, that even without the existence of a written lease agreement or a sublease agreement under Article 1403 of the Philippine Civil Code, there is a valid lease contract if it is not more than 1 year?
Your Honor, on the question of whether we are aware of the operation of the colorful leaf, that is something that we cannot venture into because we did not receive any report even from our police of Clark, and that's the reason why, Your Honor, we placed them under preventive suspension and they are under investigation. Why this was not at all reported to management, Your Honor?
I think, Your Honor, Madam Chair, it's just a matter of not just lack of intelligence, but proper coordination between several government agencies. PAGCOR, for instance, doing its weekly inspection near the offices of CDC. This should bring forth a more collaborative security team assessment. Kung nagtutulungan lang po kayo, siguro mas sa atin po sa Batangas, President De Binadera, mas maalwan ang ang nangyari. So, Madam Chair, wala na po akong karagdagang katanungan. Ang gusto ko lang makita po sa IACAT, ilan yung datos natin na rescue dati sa ibang bansa, na bumalik uli sa ibang bansa. Ilan naman yung datos natin na rescue sa Pilipinas, dineport sa ibang bansa, bumalik uli sa Pilipinas. Kasi yung iba niloloko na tayo eh. Hinuhotel natin, pinapakain natin, tapos babalik uli doon.
So USECT, please provide the committee that information at the next hearing.
Yes, Madam Chair, we will.
Thank you. So,
Madam Chair.
salamat, Sen. Francis. Just lastly and succinctly, I'd like to ask a few questions to the International Organization of Migration. Who will speak for IOM? Yes, ma'am. Ms. Tristan Burnett. Correct. So, could you give us a sense of the scale of the problem that we're talking about here, not just in the Philippines, but regionally and globally? Or let's just stick to the regional perspective because that is overwhelming enough. Could you please give us a big picture about that?
Yes, thank you. Thank you for the invitation to come today. We have sent you a brief that we've done on forced trafficking for forced criminality in Southeast Asia, which was done in March of 2023. And largely what we're seeing is that there's a very similar type of means, acts, and exploitation that we see here today in this unfortunate case. But the main areas, maybe you can go forward. Sorry, I didn't realize. Because I know that we don't have much time.
Yes, thank you.
This is what we're seeing across the region, is that their recruitment through social media, transportation is arranged and paid for by the employer. Tourist visa apps are used and paid for or secured by the employer with the promise of a longer-term work visa. There is harboring. This is all under ACT, and those three components are according to the Palermo protocols, which IOM uses. So there are guarded compounds that operate often in scamming centers. And then, of course, transfer and receipt. So there is a change of hands in the process that goes from the recruiter to the smuggler to the trafficker and then to the employer. When you're talking about this cross-border. So that would be the act, and that what we're seeing across Southeast Asia and other parts of Asia is largely similar. The means, and this goes into much of the discussion today because it involves deception, and deception negates willingness or voluntariness because you can't be voluntary if you're lied to. So fraud and deception in terms of promises of favorable work conditions, high salaries, bonuses, which we're also seeing, free food and accommodation, as well as different types of employment that range from customer service, data entry, marketing. They're really looking not just at unskilled labor, but also people with college educations. Remember that with COVID, there was innovation in business and technology, as well as a driver for people that lost their jobs and were lured by these types of promises with access to social media again. In some instances, we saw abduction, either through drugs or armed groups. And then, of course, coercion. Again, this is all under the means. So threats of violence, threats to be sold to another company, as well as that actually being carried out. So as an example, violence, as well as docks in pay if not reaching a certain quota. Also captivity and confinement and restriction on communication, such as confiscating mobile phones, monitoring their usage, etc.
And are there trends or patterns emerging about perpetrators, these traffickers?
I would be hesitant to speak on behalf of law enforcement, but I'll use that as a platform to say that one of the challenges that we're seeing is actually a lack of intra and cross-border coordination among law enforcement agencies, simply to get a better understanding of the actors. What we do know is that when you have a large-scale group of identified victims, that often they are criminal actors or organized criminal actors involved, which necessitates the role and coordination of law enforcement for cooperation, as well as vulnerability assessments of individuals to collate that information so we have a better idea not just of the individual needs, but of the patterns, which goes into prevention, assistance, and response, which are the three different components.
And therefore, moving forward, are there already strategic interventions that you propose in the region and that legislatures, law enforcement agencies, regulators here in the Philippines could support or could consider for our own implementation?
So we look at what we call the 4 Ps: prevention, protection, prosecution, and partnerships. In terms of prosecution, particularly in large-scale cases, remember that victims or they are still individuals, the large group of victims, so they have individual needs and rights, and we advocate for a victim-centered approach. But also to remember that they can be potential witnesses in a criminal proceeding, and to ensure their safe and voluntary participation within that prosecution. And then on the partnership side, which I alluded to, I would say that the Philippines is a lead Sherpa in the ASEAN Senior Officials Meeting on Transnational Crime. So that is, they are in a good position to be pushing enhanced cooperation with law enforcement, including on the draft Bohol 2.0 work plan and implementation of the latest ASEAN Declaration on the Use of Technology for Trafficking in Persons. So those would be a couple concrete suggestions from our end.
Thank you very much. And they're detailed in the brief that you sent the committee, I suppose.
Those 2 later issues, we can follow up with supplemental information.
Please do. Thanks so much. Is it also, do you find also that it's a pattern that mainland Chinese online gambling groups eventually diversify into scamming? We want to understand if what seems to be happening here in our country is also a regional trend.
What we are seeing is that there is an increase in online gambling, cryptocurrency, money laundering, as well as romance fraud, and that many of the opportunities that have been presented to potential victims turn out to be these scam centers, which diversify in terms of, I would say, the portfolio of the criminal activities, as well as the particular role that people have to play, whether they're accountants, marketers, online scammers, etc. So there does seem to be a trend across the region in terms of countries, in terms of actors, but I would hesitate to get more into the law enforcement.
It's all right, but this is already very helpful. And in your work so far in the region, do you have a sense of the magnitude, the number of the victims? Are they 100,000? Are they approaching 500,000? What's your sense about that?
So we do have some of the statistics in the documents that we provided to you before this hearing today. I would be hesitant to put a number on it because it is an underground activity. But if you look at the caseload that was just identified in Clark, over 1,000 victims, and you're talking about a regional trend already in multiple countries, I would project that it's a fairly big caseload.
So all the stakeholders around this table and other similar tables in the region acting together against trafficking, against crypto scamming, to rescue the victims, rehabilitate them, and then rehabilitate our national economies could really make a difference in quite a number of lives and families here in the region, I would suppose.
It would make a difference, and I would say that it would be very difficult to effectively combat this without that cooperation between different countries. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Burnett. IOM has also echoed what the IACAT has said also at the beginning of the hearing about really the need for this international, intra-regional cooperation to defeat trafficking and scamming and to restore dignity to the lives of our citizens and our countries. So thank you very much for being here. Salamat to IOM. So, dear colleague, yes, Sen Sherwin. Maybe we have a minute, but please take it. You are the author of one of our resolutions.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to take this opportunity while already in this topic. And again, I want to take the opportunity of the presence of PAGCOR. I heard earlier, this is just a follow-up on Senator Tolentino's line of questioning earlier, that in May 18, 2023, CGC Technologies, the license was revoked because of involvement in criminal activities. Is that correct, attorney?
Yes, sir.
So their license was revoked.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And have you conducted an investigation regarding their involvement to these criminal activities?
Actually, sir, on May 8, 2023, we issued a show cause order to the two entities, to the CGC Technologies, and similar to what they explained to CDC, they explained that they have an agreement with Colorful and Leap Group Company, and that they are saying that they do not have any control on the actions of these companies that are subleasing to them. But based on our rules, we do not also allow this kind of activity. And even if they are not controlling the activities of Colorful and Leap Group Company, it is their responsibility, and they should not have allowed those kinds of activities to be happening within their registered operating sites.
Okay, you mentioned two entities. You send show cause orders to two entities. Which are the two entities? What are those?
We also issued a show cause order to Sun Valley Clark Hub Corporation.
So Sun Valley, Clark. But we know that that CGC and Sun Valley is one and the same, correct? In terms of ownership.
Yes, sir.
So there's just one personality behind it. I mean, there's one group of people behind it.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
And the argument there is they don't have any control over the sublessee.
Yes, Mr.
And what's your finding? How did you? What is your analysis to that? And what exactly did they violate in their contract?
Actually, Mr. Chair, they violated the exact reason why we gave them a license.
Which is?
We gave them a license for the purpose of being a service provider for online gaming. However, they engaged in activities beyond the license or accreditation that we have given to their favor, sir.
So the violation is going beyond their license.
Yes, sir. In addition, sir, last September 15, 2022, the PAGCOR, together with other government agencies, had an agreement with the POGO licensees that if they ever will be caught involved in criminal or illegal activities, they will be dealt with severely by fines and also cancellation of their license or accreditation.
Two questions. Have you fined them?
Yes, Mr.
How
Chair.
much is the fine?
The first fine is $30,000 and the other one is $50,000. We also forfeited their performance bond in the amount of $50,000.
Okay. And what exactly is the criminal activity that you have found?
We actually based our decision on the cases that have been filed by the DOJ against the people who were caught inside the premises of CGC Technologies, which is the violation of the expanded Anti-Human Trafficking Act in relation to cybercrime law of 2012.
But what about CGC? Because it was established that CGC has operational control of the building, has legal possession, tama, attorney, of the building. Did you consider that as part of their violation? Because their argument is we don't have any control of the sublessee, but they have physical control over the premises.
Yes, sir. That is primarily the reason why we canceled, because despite the fact that Colorful and Leap Group are supposed to be not related to CGC, CGC is our accredited service provider, and it smeared the whole operations inside the Sun Valley Clark Hub Corporation. And also with regard to Sun Valley Hub Corporation, they should have known, or they should have prevented these kinds of activities. Hence, we also cancel the accreditation of the hub.
Okay, and that's based on your findings.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Okay, and will these people allowed to operate again? CGC and ano ba isa? Sun Valley.
Definitely not, Mr. Chair. We are also launching, we are also actually in coordination with the Bureau of Immigration and other enforcement agencies that we have to ensure that licensees or accredited service providers who employed these rescued victims will no longer be allowed to be accepted in other companies. So we will release a memorandum to inform the other licensees and service provider that they should not be accepting these foreign nationals that were repatriated. Why? Because we will just be parang paikot-ikot lang din po yung mangyayari kasi kumbaga sanay na po sila. So sila ay magiging valued employee.
Yeah, but
so dapat po
for Sun Valley and CGC, will they be allowed to operate again?
No, Mr. Chair.
So they will never be allowed.
They will never
So
be.
the Clark Pogo Hub will be perpetually inoperable.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
They will never be allowed to operate again.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
How about in our country? It's easy to set up new companies. We all know that. No, we all know it's you banned one corporation, the owners will set up a new corporation and apply new license. How will you take that into consideration?
Taking that into consideration, we will intensify our probity checking. We will make sure that the companies that will be requesting from us licenses or accreditations are not connected with any criminal or illegal activities, Mr. Chair.
No, but how about the personalities? But because it's easy to set up a corporation. It will be, a different corporation. The owners can set up, the personalities can set up a different corporation. How do you treat those personalities? It's already, you already mentioned, no? Sun Valley, CGC, they're banned for life. The operations in Clark, they're not going to be operating forever. No, how about the personalities? We all know it's easy to set up, corporations in our country. You go to SEC, in one day you get a new corporation. How will PAGCOR approach that scenario? What is the regulation to that? Yeah. What is the regulation to that?
Sir, I believe that's what we are.
No, but what is your existing regulation?
Probity checking, Mr.
Two
Chair.
personalities, not only corporations, huh?
Yes, Mr.
Two
Chair.
personalities, owners, shareholders, board of directors who are embroiled in human trafficking.
Yes, Mr. Chair, our probity checking covers the corporation as well as the personalities behind the corporation or the beneficial owners, so that we will also be able to determine the involvement of these personalities in the company using the veil of the corporations.
Okay, so what have your probity check yielded to?
Pardon, Mr.
What
Chair.
is the result of your probity check?
Right now, sir, we are not yet. We don't have yet the applicant that you're referring to, Mr.
No, but you canceled the corporation, di ba? Obviously, the personalities are still at large. Okay. I'll give you a scenario. If those personalities will set up another service provider and another licensee, will you give them, will you allow them and give them license to operate?
For sure, Mr. Chair, they should be blacklisted and they should not be allowed to have another license or be given accreditation.
So your regulation specifies blacklisting of personalities who are embroiled in criminal activities.
Yes, sir. They are disqualified to be given the privilege of holding a license.
That's under what regulation? Can you specify to us for the record what regulation of PAGCORs specifically blacklist personalities embroiled in crimes? Because ang punto ko dito, in-establish nyo that si CGC, San Valley, embroiled in crime. Therefore, out na sila. No? You're saying there's a regulation for blacklisting of personalities. I want to know what exact regulation that deals with the blacklisting.
Mr. Chair, we do not have the exact word of blacklisting. However, based on our regulation of probity checking, there should be a checking of the criminality, criminal association, financial stability, financial capability of the applicants. So if we found in there that the beneficial owners or those connected with the new applicant is embroiled with the other companies or closed companies involved in criminal activities, then we will no longer, or we will deny the application on the basis of their involvement with the personalities.
Who owns Sun Valley and CGC? Based on PAGCOR's records?
It's Mr. Kevin Christopher Wong, Mr. Chair.
For which one?
For CGC Technologies and Sun Valley Clark.
So it's one and the same.
Yes.
So if Mr. Wong will incorporate a new corporation, I'll give you a scenario, and applies for a service contract, a service provider accreditation or a POGO licensees, will he be allowed to be given a license to operate?
Sir, for this one, we will have to conduct our investigation, sir, with regard to the involvement of Mr. Wong. However, if based on the investigation and that we found in there that he is embroiled in these activities, then we will no longer give him the chance to hold a privilege of holding a license, Mr. Chair.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah. Madam Chair, sorry for taking more than 1 minute.
And then I'd like to give a minute also to Sen Grace, the author of our other resolution.
I understand there's
Thank
a
you,
second
Sen
hearing.
Sherwin.
No?
There will be a next hearing, yes.
Just submit to us, PAGCOR, that policy or regulation on blacklisting. Pag wala, then again, PAGCOR is remiss in its job in terms of enforcement. Masyado tayong malambot eh. Human trafficking to eh. Control mo yung premises mo eh. Ikaw may-ari ng kumpanya. Tapos pwede ka pang mag-apply at magnegosyo another service provider or POGO license because walang regulation ang PAGCOR to that effect. That's why we're here, because we're addressing crimes related to POGO. Established na yan. I think there's no argument that crimes are related to POGO or POGO generates crimes. That's established already. But our regulation is so weak that people can circumvent it and apply again. No? There's no disincentive for them to perform or act in accordance with the law. That's what I'm driving at. That's why we're asking for those documents, because personally, I'm seeing a lot of gaps. No? And just submit to us all documents related to this case and the regulations related to this case. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Sen Sherwin. Senator Grace Poe is online, and she's the author of one of the resolutions we are investigating. So, Sen Grace, you have the floor for your statement or manifestation.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Siguro kaya ako nag-file ng resolution na to, kasama na rin ang ibang mga kasama natin dyan. Kasi nga, merong merong pagdududa talaga ng trafficking dito. At para nakikita natin, maraming mga kababaihan rin ang apektado. We have the same advocacy, Senator Risa. It just so happens that maraming iba-iba pang nagsanga-sanga ng mga problema dito. Listening to the proceedings, I think it's clear that kung walang nagpapalusot, wala namang lulusot. So the problem is really in enforcement. It will not be this grave if our government officials were just really doing their job. So I would like to join Senator Gatchalian with these observations with regards to the many different government agencies. Madam Chair, maybe we should also investigate the background of the ones that are heading these agencies. What are their track record? Diba? Kasi tingnan mo, si Senator Sherwin, dun sa kanyang mga iba pang hearing, katulad dyan sa NGCP, di ba? Napagdiinan na ang ERC may malaking kinalaman din sa mga palusot na nangyayari sa NGCP. Hindi ba, Senator Sherwin, yung mga charge ng NGCP na mga projects na hindi pa naman nauumpisahan, sino ang mga naging mga namuno ng ERC noong mga panahon na yon? Yun ba merong kinalaman sa mga namumuno din ngayon? Sa, ewan ko, parang pareho din ba sa CDC, Senator Sherwin?
Yes, ma'am. We're currently investigating the NGCP issue. Ongoing with Senator
Okay,
Risa, actually.
If I'm not mistaken, who were the past chairman of the NDCP, of the ERC?
Well, the previous chairman is Chairman De Manadera.
Exactly. So, Mr. Chair, I'm just saying that I guess this is all very timely. We need to focus also. Kasi eto, kunyari, nahuli na natin ito. Pero pareho pa rin ang mga nagpapatakbo ng mga iba't ibang ahensya ng gobyerno na hindi natin sigurado ang kredibilidad. Paulit-ulit lang na mangyayari ito di ba? So ngayon, these are the actors that we are concentrating on in the private sector. But then, in the government sector, pare-pareho lang, nire-recycle lang, iba't ibang posisyon. Kung hindi dito magsasabog ng lagim, doon naman sa kabila. So, Mr. Chair, there are a lot to be investigated here, but my point is also to investigate the government agencies and their heads that are in charge of these different operations. So that's all my observation for now, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Sen Grace. We can follow up on those points you've raised in the next hearing. So, colleagues,
Madam Chair,
who is
this is yes.
President CEO De Vanadera? We are wrapping up
Yes.
before we suspend.
Well, since my name was mentioned and somehow alluded to, I submit myself to the investigation of this committee on every aspect, Your Honor. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much also, President CEO De Vanadera.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Yes, Sen Grace.
That's from Ms. De Vanadera. Thank you. And for others, not just her, but for the others that are also involved in regulating this industry. Thank you.
Thank you, Sen Grace. So, colleagues, the hearing today finally, definitively confirmed one thing. POGOs are used as a legal cover for scam hubs. Kinumpirma ito ng IACAT kanina at kitang-kita sa dokumento ng mga sub-lessees itong ni-raid sa Sun Valley compound sa Clark. The scam hub in Clark is operated by a company called Colorful and Leap Group, which is a sub-lessee of CGC Technologies, Inc., a POGO company licensed by the PAGCOR. It's appalling that this fraudulent cryptocurrency corporation, which has trafficked thousands of foreign nationals into the country to work as scammers, has been operating under a legal POGO. ginagamit o nagpapagamit ang mga pogo para manloko ng mga inosenteng tao. At gaya ng tinatanong ng mga colleagues ko, ano ang ginagawa ng PAGCOR? Hindi naman pwede na pag nag-aproba na sila, hindi na nila babantayan. PAGCOR, as a regulator of POGOs, should be actively looking into the companies that they allow to operate in the country. Otherwise, it is in effect aiding this growing and disturbing humanitarian crisis in our region. Hanggang ngayon, patuloy ang recruitment para sa mga POGO jobs kuno, pero malamang ay mga papunta sa isang scam operation. Friends, colleagues, the first concrete step we need to take is to ban POGOs in the country. Napatotohanan na sa wakas that POGOs provide that legal layer to these hubs, and the operations of these hubs remain beyond regulatory scrutiny. If POGOs are allowed to continue business as usual, the crypto scam and human trafficking operations will also grow at a frightening rate our government will never be able to overtake. Wala ni isang magandang bagay ang naibigay ang POGO sa bansa. Krimen lang ang dala, gaya din ng sinabi ni Sen. Sherwin. Paulit-ulit na natin itong sinasabi at sana naman sa bagong impormasyong ito, matauhan na ang ating gobyerno. Kick POGOs out of the country now. And beyond cleaning our own backyard, we need, as IACAT, as IOM have said, a multilateral regional response to this humanitarian emergency. Let us now act on this. Reach out to our neighbors in the ASEAN before it's too late. Muli, gusto kong magpasalamat sa PNP ACG at sa IACAT sa puspusang pagtrabaho para sa pag-raid at rescue sa pagsugpo nitong mga krimen sa ating bansa. Maraming salamat din, terima kasih to alias Jason for your presence in order to help our investigation. Marami pong salamat to all our resource persons for your insights. This hearing is suspended.